2018. It is now 6 o'clock. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. John, will you lead us in prayer?
Yes. Let's bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come together this evening as devoted stewards, determined to lead and mindful of our purpose. Guide our hearts and our minds in all of the decisions that we make, in all matters that come before us. Bless this meeting with your divine presence. Guide our actions as this council works to serve the best interest of the good people of the town of West Warwick. Amen.
Andrew, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier.
Here.
Councilman Padula,
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico.
Here.
Council President Goslin.
Here.
There is a quorum on record.
Go ahead, Jim.
At this time, I'd like to close the minutes of the executive session that were held on November 21st, 2017. Under Section 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A47 of Rhode Island General Laws, the council will close the executive session. It was held on November 21st, 2017. I'd also like to close the minutes.
Well, we'll take a vote on that one.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Under Section 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A47 of Rhode Island General Laws, the council will close the executive session minutes from the meeting held December 5th, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. December 5th, if I'm correct, that was the interviews. I personally think we should leave those open.
I agree.
Only because of, we probably should have did all the interviews in open public. That's just my opinion, but if anybody wants to understand why we voted the way we did for the judge, they can listen to those minutes. That's just my opinion. It was moved. Yeah, it was moved and seconded. So it's yes to close them, no not to close them.
No, I make a motion, no, not to close them.
All right, so you're gonna withdraw your second?
Yes.
All right, so there's been a motion, there's no second. It dies.
So we're seconding not to close them, correct?
Well, wait a minute.
There's been a motion made to close the meeting minutes, the executive session of December 5th.
It would be easier just for him to vote no then.
Yeah, exactly, I vote no.
So keep his second as
Right, okay.
seconded.
Well, isn't it easy if I just withdraw my motion?
No,
Because
you
nobody
put a
voted.
motion in. So if you just, he made the motion, you seconded it.
Yeah.
Now,
All right, we'll all vote no.
discussed, I told you why I think they should be left
All
open.
right.
Then at that point, if you want them open, vote no. If you want to close them, vote yes. All in favor to
No.
close them? I said it right.
He made the motion, all right? If you wanna keep them open, vote yes.
That's what I said.
No, if you wanna keep them open, you have to vote no.
Exactly, that's what I said.
I'm sorry.
If you want to close it, vote yes. If you want them open, vote no.
You wanna
All
do
in
a roll-
favor?
No.
No.
Yes.
All in favor? One.
All in
Yes.
favor of no, yes.
Wait a minute. Please stop. It's already
Being
started.
serious.
Opposed?
Opposed to closing them?
Yes.
I
Yes.
oppose.
Opposed.
I oppose.
So you're going to keep them open. Thank you.
All right, next.
The last one, under Section 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A47 of Rhode Island General Laws, the council will close the executive session minutes held on January 16th, 2018.
I'll second it.
Moving second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Revised amended January 16, 2018 agenda. Minutes of,
Just want to go over why we're revising it. A complaint has been filed to the state Attorney General's office for an open meeting act violation from the last meeting. So just so we can be ahead of the curve is we're going to be voting on the same 5 items that we voted on back in January 16th.
Minutes of previous meeting, resolved that the minutes of the January 2nd, 2018 town council meetings are hereby accepted.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, how can we vote on minutes, approve minutes, that if it was an illegal meeting, I wouldn't even bother?
This is the meeting previous to the meeting.
It's a January
This is
2nd.
The meeting, the
Oh,
minutes.
January 2nd, I'm
Yes.
sorry, okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agendas. License application. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to the proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
David, do I have to wait till to move that motion up till the end?
Which one? We want to get through the.
Gotcha, I'm just
2000.
making sure, correct, I'm just making sure.
Town clerk fees and charges.
You didn't say anything, do I move a resolution that you didn't read?
It's long.
That's why you should read it.
You guys already voted on it.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Again, this is just the auction fees. One day is $50, and we didn't have a yearly fee. And auctions that are happening every week, it was $50 a week. At that point, it's, $2,500 a year, $2,600 a year. So we put a yearly fee in of $250. That's the only change here. Any concerns? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2018-1, second reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, an ordinance amending Appendix C, traffic ordinances of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Again, this is the three-way stop sign on Knight Street. The residents really petitioned me for this, so that's why I moved it forward to the Traffic Commission, and they approved it. Any comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Temporary appointment, authorization of Assistant DPW Director to act in the absence of the Acting Department Public Works Director.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Approval of the town solicitor's contract.
I'll move, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Last meeting, I did take a roll call vote on this. Any public discussion? Jay?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Sec-
We're moving into the February 6th meeting, so the last meeting has been taken care of. Jay, I know you said you had a presentation that needed to be brought to the front. So
Yes.
if you want to make a motion,
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to move discussion action, number 2,
police clinician, behavioral health navigator,
and where can we move it to?
right now.
Right now, okay.
Who's gonna second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor to move that first?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Actually, Heather, Matt, if you want to come up, you can. Those of you that aren't familiar with the program, about a year ago in March, Heather Seeger with the Providence Center became the West Warwick Behavioral Health Navigator. Basically, what she does, it's a great. If you haven't heard about this program, it's awesome. She goes out there and tries to help intervene those that are arrested for either drug charges or people that are suffering with mental illness, and tries to divert them from, instead of just going right to jail, trying to help them out. And 100% of the individuals who OD receive some kind of outreach. Is that correct? Maybe if you want to fill the council in that aren't familiar with the program. And Matt, Matt Beltrami, you're like the head liaison basically for the police department with Heather. Correct. So maybe if you want to fill the rest of the council and maybe the people at home that are watching about what you do and maybe how your first year has been so far.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So as the councilman mentioned, I am a clinician, I'm a licensed clinician that works with the Providence Center. So as everyone probably knows, might not know, the opioid epidemic has hit West Warwick pretty hard. Actually one of the worst in the state. So we've usually, in the past few years, have ranked anywhere between 1 and 5 for being top for overdoses in terms of ratio of people. So that being said, the Providence Center partnered with the police department, the police, the clinician, myself, to help kind of combat this epidemic and figure out what can be done. So in addition to kind of everyday calls of helping people with mental health crises, a large portion of what I do is train the police department about substance use disorders and the opioid crisis, as well as go out with Matt Beltrami. We go out to provide outreach to individuals that have experienced an overdose in the community. Sometimes we are very successful and are able to kind of reach that person right away. Sometimes we're not, so we'll make multiple attempts, both at their house, by telephone, just to kind of provide an additional opportunity for them to get connected to treatment and recovery supports.
For those who know me, Detective Beltrami, I work next door prosecution unit. This has been a big change for society as well, because what normally people see is the West Warwick Police Department showing up at a time of crisis, and you only see the police again at the next time of crisis. When I go, I wear suit and ties, I report, we go to the house, there's no time constraint, we first show up, and they're always like, police are here, I'm in trouble, so we get past that barrier. When we first started the grassroots effort, there was not even a desk for Heather, nothing, we got it all set up, going upstairs, found a place for her to fit into the PD. As she stated, every single person gets followed up on, follow them through, get into the house, and sometimes they're there for a few minutes, sometimes they're there for a half hour, 45 minutes. And as the program has progressed, we realized last year alone, we've lost 10 people in West Warwick to overdose. So we realized these people are losing their loved ones, and there's no follow-up for them. So now we're also connecting to the families of those that have lost someone, because there's services out there that these people don't even know about. And one big barrier we learned is the lack of, I'll be blunt, education that people have out there as far as what is on the streets. Simply put, they think these pills, they're marked clearly as such. Next thing you know, it's 100% fentanyl, which a lot of people never even heard of in this town, which is a point of where we're going with the program in the next states, which the town manager's also been involved in a possible grant money that's coming forward. But it's been widely successful. For those of you that don't know it, Heather and I personally have been with Sheldon White, right? Yeah, Sheldon Whitehouse twice. Management last week, and the Surgeon General of the United States last week as well at a roundtable, just as you all are here, inquiring about the program, because this is like a pilot program Little West Warwick is doing that they're trying to manipulate and duplicate throughout the United States.
And there's also, and this is the third city or town in the state, Warwick and Providence, are the other two that have a health navigator.
A
Similar.
position.
What's been the reception so far from the families that you've dealt with?
So far, everybody, both individuals, families, have been really receptive. Of course, like you mentioned, getting that past that initial barrier of why are the police at my home?
Yeah.
When I cannot call them, or, you know, what's going on. So once we get past that and people are just realizing that we're there to help and offer treatment options or just information, education, they're pretty receptive and they're pretty open to at least talking about what the possibilities are. Some people get connected to treatment, some people don't. Overall, we have seen a very slight decrease and kind of more of a status quo in West Warwick in terms of overdoses, where in previous years we've seen continual significant increase. We've also, in the last year since the program started, seen kind of a reduction in repeated overdoses for the same person or location. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Do you think it's helped like humanize and like bridge a gap for people to see police in a different light, seeing that you come there to help them out and not just to, to knock down their door?
Absolutely. Plus, when we're there too, the families are there. So we're actually sitting down on their couches and kitchen tables and having family discussions. And what families realize is such a stigma with it is that unfortunately they have to go through such a crisis. They're hearing from neighbors, friends, and families that they also have people in their families also battling the addiction issue.
Yeah.
So it bridges that gap as well. But it's been, I can't tell you the amount of positive feedback, there's never been any negative. As soon as we get in, even, it doesn't matter, we've had a couple that have overdosed several times. Every single time they overdose, we're there within a couple days following up on them. Doesn't matter how many times.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. And like, great job. 1 year, great job.
Any questions? Any questions from the council?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Reports, town managers report.
Yes, last week, we had a meeting with representatives of the West Warwick Angels, Caring for Animals, and Defenders of Animals. It was a very good meeting, very constructive. A lot of good information was exchanged back and forth. I believe we'll have a second meeting coming up, hopefully soon. And, we've identified the major areas that we need to address and work on. And I think there's a very constructive, and I believe that will happen, and hopefully in the near future, we'll have our issues resolved and an agreement coming before the council for the financial relationship between the Angels and the town, and hopefully we'll put things back together in the near future.
Do you have any timetable on like how long till the volunteers can return?
I don't have a timetable per se, but I believe it hopefully will be sooner than later. Once the colonel gets back, I certainly will discuss the meeting with him to get his thoughts and input into the items we discussed.
Thank you, Ernie.
Any questions for Ernie? Ernie, any update on the wind turbines?
Yes, the recloser should be shipping no later than the 9th. Once it is delivered, in about a 2-day delivery, it has to be installed, it has to be checked. So I believe the latest information we have, it should be back, recloser should be back in operation and tested, and the turbine should be operational between February 13th and 16th. That's the latest that we have.
Are we getting reimbursed for what we're losing?
Well, we have an insurance policy, and that has to be looked at. There are certain deductibles in there, but as we finish and find out what the cause of the problem was, that may have an effect on the type of recourse we have. But yes, we have insurance, and it is our hope that, anticipation, that our damages will be covered.
What's
Well,
the
it was made to our understanding, not this council, but the council before, when we went through that with a fine tooth comb, and probably our solicitor can answer it better.
Well, you actually have the gentleman who represented us in the crowd tonight.
Oh, that's right.
He's there on the agenda later on. So if any questions, I could ask him and the
Well,
solicitor.
very, very briefly, that the manager put it correctly, any claims that are gonna be made, if there's any out-of-pocket expense or any loss, obviously if there's a breach of contract, there's supposed to be a fill-in, so we're not supposed to be going against our deductible. So if in fact the town has to pay its deductible, then we're gonna seek reimbursement from the company. So it's only for efficiency's sake to get the deductible paid first instead of waiting, because if they decide not to pay on the claim, we're gonna have to sue them under a breach of contract. And if Julian wants to add to
Because
that.
this was supposed to cost us zero, any breakdown, any reason.
Well,
Yeah, I remember
you're-
watching Fred's
you're-
Fred's
you're
long video.
correct, but again,
Who?
when the issue comes up about why you have the, I don't wanna call it, well, it's a defect and why the system's down, if that can't be, or the reason why it can't be explained by the, let's say, Mr. Di Pasquale's company, and there's an issue, any out-of-pocket expense borne by the town, we'll be seeking reimbursement from his company. And that's the way it was set up, and that's the way it's supposed to be. The insurance company is kind of a, just to close the gap, so you have the payment quicker, because if we have to go through litigation, obviously, no monies are gonna be put up. So, the insurance there is really to protect the town. If the insurance company says the deductible is $5,000, and Di Pasquale's company won't pay it, then we'll go after them under a breach of contract.
So if it's a manufacturer's issue, we don't have to go to Vensis? We go directly to Di Pasquale?
No, if it's a manufacturer, that's covered under the warranty. So we would just have, that's now becomes just a filing of a claim and the appropriate paperwork. So I don't believe right now we're even close to knowing what the problem is. So it could be manufacturing, it could be a labor issue, it could be materials, we don't know.
How long has it been down?
I think we already can address that.
And they, And you mean to tell
January
me
8th.
with all our technology we have, they can't figure out what made that unit go down?
Well, they sent it, they
Or
sent
they don't
it-
wanna tell us
Well,
what
Joe,
happened?
they sent it back to Germany, first of all. They have to look at the product, see what caused it. They don't know if it was Mother Nature with a lightning strike, a short somewhere. I could tell you that there's been a lot of work being performed up there as far as transformers and everything else being replaced, not just our piece of equipment. So I'm sure we're gonna get a ruling and a determination of what it was, just waiting for the puck to come back, and then they'll have to give something in writing saying what caused it.
But we're not just taking the company's word from this, we should have our own experts there, which we did, that sold us them $18 million turbines, that could tell us what happened, instead of saying, oh, no, we're not warrantying this. I mean,
Well, it's a little later
you
in
got the
agenda.
fox watching,
Well, I can tell you, that's a
you
little
got the
later on
fox
agenda.
watching the hen
I
house.
think Julian could probably address some of that stuff.
Yeah, come on up, Julie.
I'm not sure if this,
Yeah, it's on.
Julian Dash with Clean Economy Development, and we were consulting with the town during the wind turbine. So there are a couple of items that are still in motion, obviously, because we had to send the recloser back to Germany to get tested, and we should get those results back. However, the development, there's really two issues when it comes to any financial implication to the town. One is, do you have to come out of pocket for anything to pay for any repairs, and two would be any lost energy savings that you experience from downtime. I'll take them in reverse. The second one, as far as any lost energy savings, the good thing is this turbine has been overproducing so much since it's been up that what we have been committed to being delivered as far as savings, we're still above that curve. So we from what we expected to save, we have not dropped below that, even with the amount of downtime that we've had.
Yeah, but Julian,
thus
even
far.
though we didn't anticipate enough energy, we shouldn't be penalized for
Agreed,
them, so
agreed.
that, we should still
Agreed.
be way above, so that I wouldn't wanna hear.
I agreed, but I'm just setting the framework so that we understand where we are as far as, are we at least getting the minimum that we expected, and as of today, we are, and I completely agree that, we want to make sure that the turbine's up and running 100% all the time. The second issue, again, why the recloser is still being analyzed right now, we have via email from De Pasquale's company that the manufacturer is going to treat this as a manufacturer's defect, and therefore we shouldn't have any out-of-pocket expense. However, we're still waiting for some official correspondence from the manufacturer verifying that. But they've represented to us as of now that the manufacturer is going to treat it as a manufacturer's defect.
And this recloser powers all three turbines?
Yeah, so the
Or it's connected to all
recloser,
three, so if it goes down, all three go down?
yes.
Let me ask you this, so how do they quantify the number of how much they would owe us? Is it an average of what it's gone for the past year? How will they figure that out for the time that it's been down?
So we were committed to get 10 million kilowatt hours annually. We have a mechanism to do an annual true-up on the turbine. So anything over a 12-month period, if we're below the 10 million kilowatt hours, let's, for ease of numbers, say we only generated 9, then we would have insurance that would cover us for the million kilowatt hours, or the value of that million kilowatt hours of energy that
When
would
does
be.
the clock start, from when we got it in the summer
Correct, yeah.
until okay.
Yep.
So we wouldn't see any reimbursement until this summer anyway, then, for what happened right now?
Correct. But again, we're committed to have about 10 million kilowatt hours delivered. We're
Above that right now.
above that. And again, that's not to diminish the fact that it's down and we're losing the possibility of being able to, claim those credits and possibly, sell them to another entity. I completely understand that, but just from a contractual standpoint, in terms of are we yet in a place of violation, until we get below that 10 million, we actually probably won't have
Do
a.
you know what we
a
had for
claim.
the first calendar year?
I believe we were about 1.125, does that sound about? Probably about, we were probably 10,125,000, so.
Okay. So this will put us below it, most likely by the end of the year. Yeah, you don't really know, it's there.
Yeah. As of now, I don't think so. You know, if they keep to the schedule and have it up when they believe they can have it up, we'll be close to the 10 million. I don't think we'll be below it, but we'll obviously be monitoring that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the town manager? Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Consent agenda, license applications. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to the proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Correspondence?
Consent agenda correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to the proper departments and being disposed or waiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
West Warwick Civic Center Facility Use Agreement. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the West Warwick Civic Center Facility Use Agreement.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moving second, discussion?
One-
Ms. Lauren.
Dave,
She's there.
the only thing I would have to add here is, I know we spoke about it, I'm not opposed to changing it all, but the reason why we said we're changing some of this is because we can't pay our staff. And I think we should be making money at the Civic Center and the ice rink, and I know we are, but when we have to change our rates to fit our staff versus the people who are renting the facility, I think that's an issue.
But I think she wanted to change it for the larger events, not the, you know, the Steve Lawton Renton basketball time. That's not gonna change staffing. The circus will change staffing. You know, because the animals and whatever else.
Right,
So
right.
you can come on up if you'd like and explain.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So, yes, the changes are basically when we have an event, so that we can have a second person that's on staff, who will be cleaning. And yes, when it is a holiday and it is rented out, it does cost a lot of money to staff it. So yes, you're both right.
So are we talking all the overtime it costs us because of our full-time help? Or, I mean, I see here overtime without even getting into that. But it would cost us more, that's why we wanted part-timers.
Correct.
We made sure that if we didn't make money at that, and I always said, from last time, our previous town manager, whatever he was, said that it was, we made $535,000 and we spent $535,000, which is, I don't buy it. So when we did say, and David, you were here, when we did say we're gonna have part-time help to drop the cost in running this. Now, how much part-time help do we have? How much do we utilize part-time help over? Because I'm hearing from other departments that they're getting, even though we have a freeze on overtime, that they're getting all the overtime. I guess the budget time, we'll see how much overtime is being paid, but as of what I believed in, and I think the rest of this council believed in, that there was no overtime whatsoever. So that's what I just can't, and I didn't have a time, I've been busy, and I know Jason's an expert in this field, and I trust in but he hasn't been well either, but that's what I want answered either tonight or it'll be at budget time.
Other thing that I can say about the overtime is it's contractual. We talked to the union, and a part-timer cannot cover as full-time as the shift when it's scheduled.
When it's scheduled,
Correct.
but
But aren't all the shifts scheduled then?
They should be all scheduled. Part-timers are scheduled, so they can, you know, they can do it themselves. But like, if my dog's out sick or on vacation, a part-timer can't cover.
I understand that. But in other words, once they do their,
All the overtime's coming.
once they do their 40 hours, our contractual agreement is fulfilled. So if I have to call in somebody, I run my business, I'm not gonna call in the guy that's making $35 an hour. I'm gonna call in the guy that's making 10.
But if it's a union shift, then the union has to cover it.
So
Well,
let
then
me,
what
let me
we-
clarify this. A union shift, right now, give me the shifts that we have for full-time union.
It's, Doug is Monday, through Thursday,
Just,
Thursday?
don't say names, just say,
Yeah.
All right, so there's one shift during the day, it's Monday through Friday, 7 to 3. There's a second shift that is Tuesday through Saturday, that is 3 to 11. So if,
So Sundays and holidays, they shouldn't even be in it.
so person A who's working a Monday, 7 to 3, is unavailable, sick, vacation, whatever, that shift has to be covered by a full-time
Union employee.
union
I
employee.
understand that.
Is there a full-time union, don't all the union employees work Monday through Friday from 7 to 3:30?
No, this.
No,
Tuesday through Saturday, 3 to 11.
There's only two there.
There's two
Okay.
full-timers.
Right, yeah, I understand that.
One-
But where would you get the other position, though, to cover the Monday through Friday spot? Like, where would you get the other person?
You would have to, employee B would have to cover for the A.
So employee B would get called in first.
Okay.
The second
All
shift
right.
guy.
Yeah,
would
all right,
be
I
asked
get
to
you. So
work.
there's only one option, there's only one option.
If none of them can cover, then it goes overall to the town.
So if employee B, if employee B can't work his shift, the 3 to whatever, then we have a zillion people to pick from, correct?
Townwide,
Townwide, all right.
and that's full-time union employees.
So do you have any employees now working over their 40 hours on the weekends? Wouldn't that go to part-time people?
Well, on the weekends, on the shifts that aren't uncovered, they're all covered by the part-timers.
Okay. So we don't have any full-time union people working Saturday and Sunday on a regular basis?
No.
Yeah, you do. You have one. You have one works Tuesday through Saturday, 3 to 11.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah, in addition to him. All right.
Any other questions?
No.
Any public comment on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Lauren.
Don't go far.
One question. It being approved today, how does that fit into events? How does that work? So if someone has already scheduled an event.
If they're already scheduled, they gotta be on
So
it.
they're gonna follow the other contract?
Yes.
So anyone moving forward from today who has not signed that contract will go forward with that rate, correct?
Correct.
Wait, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Still don't go far.
I have a question. I did come in late, I've been in court all day, and I'm curious as to how we got down to Q this quick. Is it my understanding that we've already voted in the licenses on consent agenda O?
Yeah, you were here for that.
I was here for that. So we voted in an incomplete license. It's not a complete license. I don't know how it could be voted in. It's not complete.
Which one are you talking about, Tom?
I'm talking about brawl for a
We
brawl.
haven't got to that yet.
Yes, we have. We got
Yes,
to,
we have.
on the licenses themselves,
Well, I don't know how it could be voted in. It's incomplete. There are check marks. License activities, please check all that apply. The only thing that has been applied is the food license. Nothing else. When it says other, it says explain. Class F, DJ, and smoking. Well, how come entertainment wasn't checked as selling alcohol? None of that's checked. There's questions that say, are there other tenants at this address? Yes or no, has not been checked. Clearly, yes is the answer. There are other tenants at that address. 100 Factory Street carries the ice house and the field house. The next question, are there any flammable hazardous equipment? Nothing's been checked. It's incomplete. How can you vote on a license that's incomplete?
Where
That's
is
my
that?
question.
All licenses are pending police fire approval.
Well, how can you, regardless, I don't care who's going to approve it, it's not filled out. It's incomplete.
Huh?
It's an incomplete license.
Madam Clerk, can you explain?
I'll be honest, nobody ever checks those boxes.
I did. It's not checked, and they're questions.
If you go,
It's an
if you
incomplete
go and
license.
everybody else's license applications right now, they're all this, nobody
They're
checks those
all
off.
incomplete, and not all of them are. There's a number of them that are complete right to the letter.
And the theatrical is coming up next, and it has a resolution. That's for the entertainment.
Okay, so we haven't got as far as, it's just the license that you've approved that you can't approve because it's incomplete. And, how many, there was a vote on that license, I believe.
5-0.
5-0. There was a unanimous vote on that one license.
5-0
No.
on all the licenses.
The whole.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Kit and caboodle.
Except
But
for-
knowing that they
except-
were-
Except for DJ, that's coming up next.
Right,
So now that license has been approved.
No. It's not approved because you got it on the next.
Actually, no, it's slipped in here. Things have been changed here since last week, including the time this meeting starts.
Tom,
This
that
meeting
that
started
taint-
at 7 o'clock.
Tom,
When did
wait
it
a minute.
change?
Let me say something right now. It's never changed. What happened here
Well,
was,
they go to
Tom,
screenshot. The meeting was scheduled for 7 PM.
Tom, the original meeting was posted for 7 PM all year long, okay? What I'm telling you is, we, as a council, got a compl, and I said it right at the beginning of this meeting.
Okay.
You were not here, Tom. Let me finish.
No, I wasn't, because I was coming
We
at
started
7.
this meeting at 6 o'clock because a complaint was filed for the OMA, Open Meeting Violation Act.
Yeah.
Okay, which, that complaint was filed between the last meeting and this meeting, the January 16th
Okay.
meeting and this meeting, okay? We then said we need to vote on all this all over again.
Right?
We posted this agenda strictly 6 PM Thursday morning. When Paula posted it, it was 6 PM, it's never changed. I even said to the council via email, we'll be meeting at 6 PM. It's
Well,
never changed.
It was 7 PM before that.
It was posted,
and I s-
it
and
was
I say
posted
it
publicly
wasn't
more than
posted
48
before
hours.
Friday.
It was posted publicly more than 48 hours ago.
I say no. And there was 5 gentlemen that voted on this, on that license. Beautiful. We'll continue.
Theatrical
Anything
performance.
else, Mr. Solicitor?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything else?
I don't know. What would you like to put on the record, Mr. Rhodes?
All right, enough.
I'm curious as to
No
the
more.
conversation
Mr.
that's
Mr.
going on.
Oates,
This is
please
what's called
sit down.
attorney-client privilege, Mr. Rhodes. Why don't you read this?
Attorney-client privilege.
Attorney-client privilege. Why don't you look it up and understand it?
I surely understand.
Gentlemen, both of you,
Theatrical performance shows and exhibit license. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the following application. Brawl for it all, attention, Richard Capioli, Capiolo, for 2/17/18, location Civic Center, 100 Factory Street, from 5 PM to 10 PM.
I'm gonna move the resolution.
In a second.
moving second, discussion from
All
the
right,
council.
now, what I'm seeing here, I got some letters from some constituents. They're not worried about the brawl for it all. What they're worried about is most of them weren't notified within the 200-foot place. And my answer to them, I have 2 maps. One with a 200-foot radius, which has nothing to do with the gentleman that put in for this license, because I think it's a good thing for West Warwick, to be honest with you. What I don't agree with is the smoking and alcohol, which you have neither license. State law says you cannot smoke on town properties. That state supersedes town, number one. Number two, the radius map that you did, you were off. You missed half of Queen Street. This is an aerial shot
This is from
from the,
the website.
but it is,
And this
it
is
is
the
not
list.
correct. My constituents have no problem at all because they live near a civic center. It's for shows. What I do have a problem in, and I don't see, it just snuck in there, smoking. I would approve brawl for it all, but then as you breeze through, others, and then it sneaks in, smoking, and I still haven't found alcohol yet.
It's Class F.
Wait a minute now.
Actually, it's Class P.
This is,
No, they need a catering P license.
right.
In order for the Class F.
Now, where does it show
Program.
alcohol?
The state changed the applications. I can't fit every application that I issue on this application. The state changed the application. So where it says other, we write what they want. Class F is liquor, DJ's the theatrical, smoking, and the food license is up here. So under license applications, you would see,
Let me ask you a question. If the Civic Center was to have a flea market, do you have to notify 200 people?
not,
200?
certain license does not
So what
need to
calls
be
for that
notified.
200 feet?
Theatrical only.
And the theatrical,
Dance, live band, amplifier, and theatrical, which is DJ. Those are the only people that
So-
get notified. And then if they open a restaurant and they apply for a liquor license, they also get notified up to 200 square feet
so
for
the
a
reason
liquor
why
license.
that this is for 200
Yearly.
feet is because of
Because
the
of
liquor
DJ.
license?
No,
DJ.
DJ only. Not for
But
liquor, not
now, what
for
we're doing,
smoking,
we're getting
not for
forced
food.
in. I have nothing against fights. We had all the fights up there. It was very, very profitable for the town. I have a problem with alcohol, and I have a problem with smoking. I got some calls for some of the kids that approached us that we made businesses move cigarettes, not in front, and because the principal, their words were, they couldn't bring their name up because the principal,
Can I just say something?
I'm not done,
I know.
because the principal said that this is a political problem, and where it turned political is when they threatened me against my election, and I don't threaten easy, and I don't take threats. So when you get big enough and you come personally to my face, bigger and better people than you try to take me out, and they never did. So I do have a problem. I do have a problem with this was advertised as a drinking before it was even brought to this council.
It's not one of the recommendations to notify abutters for a Class F. I don't like I just follow.
I
them.
had to notify.
But you open up a restaurant, that's totally different.
So-
Churches apply for a Class F when they have their meatball dinners, when they serve the wine and the beer. I don't notify, it's not.
On
one of the
September 9th, this
recommendations.
entire.
This should be separate. This should be
Well, I
separate
can't change that.
from the venue
I'm
that
sorry. That's
Richard's
nothing I
putting
can do.
in, which is a great venue for the town, compared to my constituents have problem with alcohol and smoking. When it's a state law, maybe you can ask the solicitor, if smoking's allowed, even if we pass this resolution, which I don't think it is because state supersedes town.
No, you can ask him, he's right there.
That's what I brought it out.
The Class F license is gonna allow for it because, as the clerk explained.
I didn't say about the liquor
No,
license,
no.
that's our
I'm
approval.
talking about what happens on a daily basis at every one of the town properties. There's always smoking, and there's no one there to enforce it, yes or no. Because we don't have a police officer, we don't have the people here to, I'm trying to finish, to enforce. As far as what you're talking about, the 200 feet, goes by state law. The Class F goes by state law. As far as smoking on a town property, that is something that this town can address as the town council, as it was addressed a couple of years back with the Centennial.
No smoking,
There was smoking.
no smoking. We
Angelo,
never,
Angelo, you're not supposed to have fireworks on town property, but you had fireworks that evening.
you're not supposed to have fireworks anywhere.
But that's the whole point. The council approved the fireworks, which means the council has the power to approve smoking.
Or
No, it doesn't.
disapprove.
How can you supersede state law?
Please
Tom,
I'll get my turn in a moment.
This entire council approved a Class F license, and September 19th, the five of us approved one for Lori when she was gonna do an event at the Civic Center. The five of us approved one.
That's one
That was
license.
September 19th.
That's not talking about now. It was advertised that I was made a fool of, that didn't even know. It was advertised, and some of these poor guys that didn't know what was going on, that's my district. I take care of my constituents. If I would've known earlier, instead of it blasting all over our social media, that they had no part in to begin with, how did this go through without the people? How did they say that they were gonna have liquor and smoking before it even came to the council? I have no idea. Can you answer that for me? Can you?
I don't know, they advertise it themselves, I had no part of their advertising.
I didn't either, so.
Can
I
I
don't
just say
believe they advertised it.
No.
one thing about the smoking? They wanted to have a smoking section. People smoke. I'm gonna be honest, I'm there every day, we all know I'm there every day. The kids come out of school, they're smoking.
Then why would we let businesses move their product to the other side
This is,
of their building when the town's allowing them to smoke on school property? So we defeated everything we did for them kids up at that high school. So what we are right here is a bunch of phonies, and you only blew their horns?
the smoking is not a big deal to them. They're okay with
And-
not having.
Oh, okay, then
Hold
we're
on,
gonna
let's
make
not-
another resolution.
One second. I just want to point out something. First of all, it's not school property. It's town property. Second of all,
How many feet away from
I
the school,
want to
David?
clarify something, Angelo. What we did for the kids was to get tobacco products off the front counter, away from kids being tempted to buy them. Up there, there's not going to be children smoking. This is an adult event, and yes, the parents are going to, some parents will bring their kids. But I personally don't think, and just my opinion, if they have a smoking tent or smoking area for first of all, it's easy to clean up, because if you have them smoking everywhere outside that building, guess what you're cleaning up the next day? Cigarette butts everywhere, tobacco products everywhere. At least it's confined into one spot.
And these gentlemen tried going about it the right
Jay,
way.
let me finish. Okay?
We're not talking about what they did, we're talking about what you did.
What I did,
What you did.
Guys, enough. Second of all, the Borough for All, or anybody who rents this place up here, if they hire a caterer, which now authorizes them to use the Class P liquor license, the state we have no say in it. The state runs the Class P, and there's Superior Court rulings on that. I have them. I think they were issued out to some of us here. I think it was sent to Timmy Williamson and the town manager. So again, if they have a caterer come in, the caterer can use his Class P liquor license. Okay?
Not if
There's
we
been-
don't
wait a minute,
allow
Angelo,
liquor in the
Angelo,
establishment.
I can probably agree with you with the smoking, but I can tell you right now, and I recused myself from a lot of the events that went on up there because I had to, but I can tell you right now, at least from 1980 till now, the WWE, before it was popular, was up there. They had alcohol. They've had
When was
alcohol back in the 80s.
It wasn't our
Okay?
time.
Wait a minute. When Peter Ethier ran that,
They didn't have any.
he had alcohol. His Big Six fighting was alcohol. He had alcohol numerous times up there. Never any issues. You voted for it. Now, one of two things. Either you didn't read what you were voting on, or you accepted it. That's the only two
Well,
explanations.
maybe it was stuck like this one is. Stuck in the middle somewhere where I think I'm approving a fight, and what I'm approving over here is smoking and alcohol. I mean, why don't we give it to a person that spends money all year round in this town, that has an investment in a liquor business? What makes one person special than 5 others?
So
maybe I would have put my name in to go sell liquor and recuse myself. Was this put out to bid?
you'd have to have a Class P liquor license.
First of
Well,
all,
it wouldn't be hard
it's
to
their
get it.
event. We're the leasees.
That's right.
They're the lessors.
I
So
understand
they're
what you're
leasing
saying.
it from us,
They're
and,
hiring the caterer.
and they're hiring the caterer. We're not hiring, no, if
I'm
we
not
hire the
talking about
caterer.
a caterer. I'm
Now,
talking
I can
about.
settle all of this real quick. If you go to your own contract, okay, let's settle this real quick. Your own contract for the Civic Center, bear with me for a moment.
Yes, Mr. Oates, I have
Oh,
that
no,
same
no,
contract
no,
in
I
front.
don't think you are aware. The contract is for the Civic Center and the property. Line item 7, safety. Paragraph E, alcohol and smoking are strictly prohibited on Civic Center property, period. Case closed.
Keep reading. Don't stop in the middle. Keep
Oh,
reading.
oh, fine, just like the Second Amendment, continue. A phrase doesn't make a paragraph.
Okay.
Lessee, that's you, agrees that the individuals connected with the lessee's use of the rink, field house, buildings, and grounds will be informed of this public policy and abide by the rules. Lessee agrees that any individuals associated with the lessee by any means agrees not to bring alcohol or tobacco products onto the premises, etc. Period. Now, if you want to push down to item 16, concessions, where it says that you can approve in writing bringing cigarettes and cigars onto the property, how can that even be on the contract? And last meeting, I brought that to your attention. Who wrote this contract? How can this supersede this? It's safety. It comes before that. You can't approve cigarettes or tobacco on the property because line 7, paragraph E, strictly forbids it on the property.
May I
And
respond?
state property.
Solicitor.
If you look at the ordinances, Mr. Oates, this body in front of you has the authority to do exactly what's in that document.
To do this
Let
document
me,
is a contract.
if I may finish.
Finish, please
The
do.
Centennial Corporation, the town of West Warwick, had, I think.
I don't care how.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
listen, I'm sorry that you think the way you think. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm trying to give you a response that is legal and lawful, whether you like it or not. The Centennial Corporation had at least 5 to 6 different events on town property where there was smoking and there was alcohol approved by this town council.
That does not set a precedence. They violated.
How could
the
you violate?
contract.
They have the authority to do exactly what you say they can't do.
You have the authority to violate a contract? Is that what you're telling me? This council has the authority to violate a contract?
That if
an
you,
agreement.
if you believe that it's being violated, then if they vote, whatever they vote
They
tonight.
can amend it.
if-
Bring it
if-
before the
if they-
council
if
for an
they-
amendment.
If you're not satisfied with what happens tonight, you certainly have the right to challenge this in a court of law.
You know what, maybe that'll be what it is, because this town is going down the gutter for court fees, yeah, we got a lot of cover. Now, let's go back to, notifying the constituents around. Who was notified?
That's the clerk.
I looked at it. Where did we send the notification for number 1 and number 2 Webster Knight Drive?
I don't understand the question. What do you mean?
Where did we send the
Here's
notification?
the abutters list. These were the people that were notified.
Correct. And if you
this
look-
came through the tax assessor website.
Okay, the tax assessor's website you guys are really balled up, and you gotta fix it now.
Well, that's
Look
not
at-
my department.
Well, the issue is, who was it sent to?
I
For-
just told you. The
Why
people
was it
that,
sent to the town hall? the high
right,
s-
because that's the abutter that came out on the tax assessor's abutters list. It says the town of West Warwick.
The-
It's not
the
gonna say
school
school department, it's
the
gonna
school-
say
that's
town
the school
of West
department.
The
Warwick.
school department doesn't own the building, Tommy. The town of West Warwick does.
The school department is the tenant, that's the
No,
school
they're not.
department.
No,
They're
hold
not
on.
a tenant.
Well, listen, how come the school department was not notified of this?
Tom, the town owns
on.
the property, not the school.
The school department was not notified of this event.
The school
They
department
use the
doesn't need to
field
be
house
notified,
every
Tom.
day of the week.
Tom, that has all been confirmed, okay? I spoke to Mrs. Tarasevich today. I've talked to Lori last week.
Yeah, and what did
All
Mrs.
right.
Tarasevich say
She
today?
has no problem with it being an event because it's not happening during school hours. There is no high school events at the ice rink. That's exactly what she said to me. High school events, meaning West Warwick high school events.
Okay, so now you're still looking at state law where it strictly forbids the use of tobacco products on the property because the school uses
On
it.
school property.
It's not school
It's
property.
not school property.
Don't,
So what? Read the law?
maybe you should, Ken.
Oh, okay, Tommy.
Can I just make one
Okay, here we
small
go.
point here?
I
Before you
got-
go any further, can I just make one small point here? Because of this kind of behavior, there are 3 people that have decided to go elsewhere to do their events. So that money that was coming in for the town, they're no longer bringing here. Have you read what a Class P catering license consists of?
We didn't apply for a Class
You don't have
B
to,
license.
Tom.
He
already
has
has
it.
it.
He has it.
He retained that Class P catering license.
You applied for a Class F. Your license.
But Tom, listen to what I just said.
You don't need it. Why is it
Tom,
on the application?
Tom, you're so worked up, you're not listening, okay? First of all as they have to do is hire a caterer with a Class P liquor license, and they have the right to serve alcohol there.
against your own contract. It says
As
you
long as
can't
we
have-
approve it.
So you can approve changing anything you want. That's absolutely asinine. I cannot understand how a council can approve violating your own
Tom, I
contract.
can't see
Number
how
one.
you called SAD and asked them to come here.
I didn't call SAD.
That's funny because the same people that called Angelo probably called me and said, you petitioned them to come here.
I went there. I didn't call anybody.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I
you
walked
went there.
myself up there and went in and spoke to them.
Do I get to talk at some point?
But
No, you're not. I'm talking.
No, listen, you don't get
If
to.
excuse me, let me come to the mic if you please. If you go to Rhode Island
No.
General, if you go to Rhode Island General Law 23-20.9-5, tobacco products usage is prohibited by any person utilizing school facility. The term school facility includes, but is not limited to, all school buildings and all school facilities used by the school, whether it owns it or not. Leased or rented, including school field houses, parking lots, and so on. So the school uses the field house. Therefore, you cannot have smoking products on the
They
property.
rent the field house, yes, they do.
Okay, so you can't do it.
All right.
That's state law. So we're gonna vote to vote to.
Do I get to talk at some
Laura,
point?
Please forgive me. Look,
I just want you to read what a Class P catering license is. So, the license
Can you address the council?
will be valid through the state as a state license, and no further licensing will be required or tax imposed by any city or town upon this alcoholic privilege.
okay, then why did they apply and get a license approved for a Class F license?
And I will be honest with you, I didn't know what a Class P license was, nor that I'm sure that most of the people in this room did before this came to me.
Yes.
Okay, so now I do know what a Class B catering license is. So moving forward, anyone that would like to have an event and serve alcohol at the field house, I will make sure that they have retained a caterer that has a Class B catering license.
And bring that to the council so they can violate their own contract.
So I want to make a point. In the future, when businesses like this don't want to come to this town and do events, this kind of circus is why they don't come here.
Circus?
Yes, it's a circus.
This kind of circus?
I'm speaking now. I have the
Jason,
microphone.
if-
Tom, you had your time to
Stop.
speak. Now I have the time to speak.
I don't want to, you're yelling from over there.
I'm over
Please.
here now.
All right, please.
I'm over here
Let the
now.
councilman finish what he has to say.
This event is going to bring over 1,000 people to this community that are going to visit our restaurants, that are going to visit our bars before and after. They're going to be bringing mostly people from out of this town. And this kind of attitude is why people don't want to come to this town. This is why it has the negative reputation. You made it seem last council meeting like it was two random people showing up for 3 o'clock high.
That's what you promoted, my friend.
No,
You promoted
no,
it.
you heard what you want to hear, Tom. That's
Do you
not what I
want to
said.
look at the video?
Yeah, I'll watch it. I've watched it 100 times. That's not what I said.
The one that you eliminated all of them off the internet except for a few?
Except for a few?
It's a brawl for it all. You got a problem with a neighbor, bring them on down. You
Yes,
got a bone to pick with your
and
brother,
then-
bring them on down. We'll duke it out like we used to do in
Yeah,
the old days.
and the next line, Mr. Oates said they have to be sanctioned by USA
No
Boxing. I'm talking
professionals.
right now, Tom. I'm speaking. It's my turn to talk. You've had your time. Why don't you sit
I'm
down?
not
right now?
done.
Well, I think you are
Gentlemen,
done.
enough! I'm tired of it. You let him finish, and then you let him speak.
Well, I let him
am
talk for a half
done.
hour. When am I going to get to talk?
I know, stop. You're worked up, you're getting me worked up, there's no need for it. Now please, move on.
The next line I said was that they need to be sanctioned by USA Boxing. They went through a 6 to 8 week program. It's a boxing match. There's going to be some hype. There's going to be some buildup. Maybe they don't like each other. Maybe they hate each other. I don't know. I don't care. It's the hype for the match. They went through a 6 to 8 week training process. They were sanctioned by USA Boxing. This isn't just random people showing up and signing up to fight. So you can pretend that that's what I said, but Mr. Oates, that's not what I said.
That's exactly what you said, and it's on tape. It's on video, and you can't
Yes,
lose
I have
it all.
it. You want to watch it
Yeah,
afterwards?
I've seen it many, many times.
I'm sure you have. You watch a lot of me. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to make something clear.
Now, the next question
Tom, wait a
was, you
minute.
said you have this event plus a 3-day hockey event going on. Where are you going to park automobiles for these two events when you only have 150 parking spots at very best per the boundary lines on the town website?
I, by all means, am not a CAD designer, but I've pretty much learned how to. I walked out into the parking lot, and you can retain a copy of this. There's 248 lined spots in the parking lot.
But-
On top of that, though, not only did I do that, I reached out to Karen Tavasevich, and I also reached out to Mr. Townsend, and I have, in an email, permission to use all parking lots of Webster Knight Drive.
That's wonderful.
So,
Now,
within that,
the
I'm
prob-
looking at least 600 to 700 parking spots that are lined.
That's beautiful. Now, if you take this into consideration, the boundaries, the town boundaries for your lot, which is 100 Factory Street, comes right across the front of this building. So these are your parking spots right here, about 150 all told, this spot and this. These are not your parking spots. You're going to use those. Now you've encroached down to here. None of these people have been notified. None of these people have been notified. The golf course, which is always notified, hasn't been notified.
And I have no problem going to them tomorrow and asking them.
It's a little late for that.
Dave, can I say something?
They haven't been notified officially.
We use it on a daily basis.
Yeah, we continue to do things wrong, and we continue to do things wrong. You're violating your own contract. Have you done it in the past? Certainly. You're doing it again. If this program had been brought to the council the way it should have been months ago, it would have had no problem, I'm sure. Details could have been worked out. Trying to slide something in 10 days before an event is a sneaky thing.
Okay.
I'm not a yeller and a screamer. There's been a lot of commotion regarding this event. Personally, to me, it's immaterial whether it's a Brawl for All or a Kids Expo or an Easter egg hunt. There needs to be a contract done up with Laurie at the Civic Center. I called the trust, which was our insurance company.
Lisa Bueno.
Yeah, for the simple reason, Laurie Bano, for the simple reason that I wanted to make sure that we were covered under liability, and you guys were, because all the commotion was about you guys. And I explained to her what I knew about your event. She had mentioned to me, as long as it's covered with Laurie, because I know she had called you, and all the check boxes have been clear, and Laurie says it is, then she was fine with it. So that was in the clear. So I've done, I think, done my due diligence as a councilman for you guys and for the council. However, the one thing she did say to me was the use of alcohol. And she said, once we allow this, we're opening up Pandora's box, which, because the Civic Center is also deemed a recreation facility, like a field, say like the ice rink, same thing. Any indoor-outdoor recreation facility. Once we allow one, we have to allow anybody. So we really don't have any recourse. I personally am against alcohol and smoking on a recreation facility.
You voted
No
for it in
offense-
September.
Please, let me talk, all right? It has nothing to do with the event. You know, I've watched your video, Mr. Tillinghast, I've watched your video with two fighters, a male and a female, who actually explained why they took part in this, their goals, and your goals for creating the event. And I think it's okay, personally. I mean, whether I like it or not really doesn't matter. You followed the criteria. The only other issue we have, and this is more for Ernie, where I feel kind of foolish, because the only way I found out about this was constituents calling me and saying, what are you allowing at the Civic Center? And I'm like, I don't know. And we shouldn't have learned about this, because it really, I mean, Jay, you did the video, and it seemed like in the video that this was already approved.
It was
And
never said.
This was, well, you're saying there's gonna be alcohol, a smoking place?
Well, I didn't say that.
You did,
Yes.
you did, and that's
No,
why.
he didn't. Mr. Tillinghast is the one who said that.
Anyway.
I'm just
All right,
clarifying.
listen, I don't understand how this could go, the town manager know nothing, and this has nothing to do with you guys. How the town manager didn't know anything about it. I didn't know, I'm 20% of the council. I called Angelo, he didn't know anything about it. That's 40% of the council. I don't know if you guys knew anything.
I called Jared.
So how do we not know anything about what's going on here? And this is somewhat controversial, only because the alcohol and the smoking. To me, it has nothing to do with the event. So I don't understand how this happens, and I don't think that was cool. So this should have come before the council first for us to discuss it and then vote on it, before it came out from a councilman.
Well, when somebody asked me to help promote anything in this town, I mean, Lori can say this even before I was a councilman, if they asked me to help film a video, I went up there and filmed a live video with her promoting it. I try to promote everything that we can help this town with. I make no money from doing this event, for promoting it. It was an event that's coming into town, that's gonna bring a lot of people here, and it's gonna, I mean, it should benefit the town, but now this is a
Do you
bigger.
get paid to advertise Mr. Malanzi's business?
I'm not promoting Kevin Malanzi right now.
Do you get paid?
He is not a business associate of mine. I already checked with the ethics board too. I checked with them too. I'm not currently advertising with Mr. Malanzi. Has Mr. Malanzi ever bought auto parts from you in the past?
No.
No, never? Okay.
Good night.
If I may, Jason, the point you're making, that it's been done before, this isn't the first time. Those guys that want to put something in that building up there that belongs to the town have researched, so they know that alcohol and smoking has been allowed in there in the past. That's number one. Number two, when they bring it forth without anybody knowing about it, quote unquote, and it's controversial, that's why it ends up in front of you guys tonight. But the bottom line is, they know that events have been held up there with alcohol. They know that there's been town property events, there's been alcohol and smoking. So they already know that because they've done their due diligence. The bottom line is, you guys have the power to either approve it or stop it here tonight, whether or not it's on social media or anything else. And 2 points I wanted to make to Mr. Oates. The city of Warwick is where we find Valley Country Club. You don't have to put them on notice because they live in a separate town.
Baloney.
They've been notified.
Baloney. Wait a minute. Timmy, I want to contradict you. Cost me $150 to advertise in Warwick.
You have a different type of license.
It's an alcohol license.
Secondly,
But they're
the
not,
parking
wait a minute,
issue.
they don't have to address the 200 feet for alcohol. They
The
have to
parking
do it for
issue.
speaker and microphone. allow
Since there are
the actual-
parking lots in the high school parking lot, both in front of the school and behind the school, there's no 200-foot rule to use that for parking because there's no alcohol, there's no smoking, there's no entertainment in those parking lots. So you don't have to provide people 200 feet from the Factory Street parking lot that there's going to be an entertainment venue at the Civic Center.
Can I clarify one other thing? We're not approving anything from Mr. Malanzi. Whoever they choose to hire, and I mean, maybe it is gonna be Kevin Malanzi, and most likely it is, they can hire anybody that has a Class P liquor license. So we're not approving anything from Mr. Malanzi
Well,
tonight.
then, let me bring up, seeing you brought that up.
Okay.
Whoever they approve, where is their bond? Where is their Class P license? Where is their Class F
Lori can
license?
address
That
that.
would all go through Lori.
Lori can address
So
that.
Laurie, who applied for the liquor license?
They're using a Class P catering license.
Who? Who applied for it?
Richard.
Okay, and
Here's
who?
the Class P catering license. Here is a.
Yeah, but
I
whose
actually have a
license is
live
this?
cover. So,
Melanzi's Catering.
But we're not approving that.
Of course you are.
No,
not approving
we're not.
catering.
We're not approving that.
They approve the caterer.
They pick their own caterer, so you can move forward with that. I will give you the key. And I have, actually, read this. Here is the catering P license. Here
Yeah, it
is
was
their
just renewed in
insurance
December.
That it bonds them at the West Warwick Civic Center. Here
Okay,
are
that's
the
all. I wanted to
restrictions
know
of
who
the
it was.
catering P license. So anything.
So
you
now
feel
you
is
know who
down.
applied for it. It's not like it's a secret.
So-
Who applied for the liquor license?
So I just want to clarify a few things. First, John, go ahead, and then I'll let Mr. Tillenhouse and then go.
So, for myself, I didn't know anything about this until the night Mr. Oates brought it up. I hadn't even seen the video at that point. But in doing my due diligence, I've spoken to numerous people. I called Lori. I've gone on the websites. I've spoken to Mr. Malanzi. Because there are concerns. My biggest concern is safety. I am not against serving alcohol at a town event. We've done it in the past. During the Centennial, it was like an add-on. I don't think it turns it into a drinking event. I think that we need to increase security. I know they're gonna come with their own security. I know that the servers will be tip certified. This is in a sanctioned event by USA. The fighters are trained, they're coached. They're short rounds, there's insurance in place. Mr. Malanzi has a rider, is that the understanding, where you can actually umbrella essentially the policy. He does have the Class P license. I mean, I don't have an issue with it.
Can I
at this
just
point.
address one thing too? For the security issue, there are 3 West Warwick police details that will be there. They will be there 4:30 to 11:30 that they are paying for separately from the rental fee of the Civic Center.
In addition
They
to
also
security.
have 10 security guards that are all crowd certified. There is one West Warwick firefighter detail that will be there 4:30 to 11:30 that, again, they are paying. There are 10 USA Boxing certified judges that are also there. There's one USA Boxing certified ringside physician that is there. There is an ambulance, a private ambulance company that is also on site there that they are also paying for. The seats that are on the floor are zip tied together. So as these seats would be here, they are zip tied, and that is a state of Rhode Island law. I have a diagram for anyone who would like to see how it's being set up. I can show you. Feel free, ask me. And again, any questions or any events that are at the field house, the ice rink, that any person in this town, any councilman, anything, please come to me and ask me before you assume everything. I mean, I
Well,
know
Laurie, you
a
know,
lot of them did.
you bring that up, and I don't think that I have to go to you to see what's going on up there that we have control over. So that's number one. Number two, the way it was presented, and not by Rich or Jared. I know personally Jared for a long, long time. I go back with his family many, many years. And I know what he does. My friend up in Smithfield, he had it, was very, very
good.
successful.
I called every police station that they
What
had one at.
what my problem is, the threatening, not by any of these gentlemen, none at all. The way it was presented, the way it was put on Facebook, before Jared and Rich even got involved in this, where our phones, myself and Jason's, to be in particular on who got the calls, the way it was presented, a barroom brawl. And I was trying to tell them, that's not his
I understand what you're
expertise.
saying. I do understand
It
what
was
you're
the
saying,
way
the way that it was presented.
my
but
constituents
they're
put me in here.
promoters.
They put me in here. No matter how many times they try to get me out of here, so far they've been unsuccessful. And the worst thing that can happen is I get beat. And I'll be a thorn in their ass in plain English in the accordions to make sure they're doing the right thing.
Your friend?
Yeah.
Your buddy?
My buddy?
Did you pay him to come in?
Yes. I don't have to. He loves it.
Do you need a generator or something, Kendall?
I do understand what you're saying, but I will tell you that
And like I
The
said, I'm all
contract-
for this. I'll be voting for it, but I will be voting against the liquor and the smoking.
the contract was signed with them on the 10th of January. As soon as it was signed, I brought it directly to the clerk's office. So that's when it was signed with me, was on the 10th of January. There was not enough time to notify the abutters in order to get on the meeting for the 16th. Again, that's why it's here. So as soon as I get the information that I need, I bring it forward. If you check my website on the Civic Center page, it was listed on there as an event that has not been approved by the council as of yet.
It was on your 28-page report you sent to the council.
It was on your 28-page report that I did send to the council. It was a screenshot in that report. So, and again, it says that it was not approved and the date will be approved. Please check back
Brawl
often.
for it all.
Yes, it's on
Not the
that
way it
page.
was put on
Not the way that it was
social
promoted,
media.
but I mean,
Okay. That's
you know,
all. I have no problem
it's apples
with
to
that.
oranges. They're promoters, they're selling tickets. I mean, these tickets are not cheap. I mean, you're not getting, it's $40. I mean, I don't see many kids going out and spending $40 to come to this event. Again, it is what it is.
Mr. Tillernass, and you guys can.
I just want to introduce myself. I'm Rich Capiello. I'm from Boston. I just want you to know that this is something I've just started doing. I've been involved in about 250 shows I've promoted over the past 25 years. The one thing I do when I run a show is, of course, I want to make sure the liability factors are all covered, security, no issues, stuff like that. Those are very, very important to me. So based on the fact that we have USA Boxing involved, we have the security, the police detail, we have the liability insurance. Also bringing the show to the Civic Center here, I think the venue is absolutely beautiful. And I want you to know that our intentions are to come back here. So this isn't something like I'm coming into town and doing something once. I'm hoping that we're very, very successful. And I'd like to bring this show back here 2 or 3 times a year. So I think it's a beautiful venue. Everyone around us has been very cooperative and very helpful. And I'm really excited, and I really hope to have that opportunity. And I want you to know that we're putting our best efforts into making sure this is a very successful night and a good look for West Warwick. Just want you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, I spoke to Mrs. Bueno too from our trust. She didn't share the same concern with the alcohol, but she did commend Lori. She basically said there wasn't much she had to cover because Lori had it all covered for us. She did say that, that they may have a better insurance than we even provide because of the Class P liquor license. And the other thing that she made clear was, and I did bring up previous history in West Warwick, and she said, we will be there to represent you if, God forbid, anything ever is to happen up there. But she said it's a totally different building, totally different criteria, and she said it's up to the town whether or not they want to serve alcohol up there. She didn't say anything else about the alcohol to me. Also, I have the luxury of sitting in the gym probably at the high school and in West Warwick lately, probably about 8 hours a week, junior varsity and varsity basketball. So I strike up conversations with people and see how they feel about this event. One lady, I didn't know, her daughter plays on the basketball team, she's a senior, but I talked to her mother says, hey, I work in Massachusetts, and they were talking about that today in my place of business. I said, really? She goes, yeah, they're buying tickets. Massachusetts is coming to West Warwick. I asked a couple other people, the McNeils, Angela, you know them well. I said, hey, we're gonna have a boxing event, do you have any problem with alcohol in there? Absolutely not. I went around to about 20, 30 people, they thought I was nuts, but not one person said anything about the alcohol.
Did you go down to Kel? Did you go to Tanglewood?
I'm saying,
Okay.
I was talking to people who live here in town, that pay taxes
On
here in
the
town.
opposite side where I live.
But Angelo, I'm talking to people in town. The Civic Center is designed to be a civic center. Okay, there's only 2 or 3 facilities like that in this state. Now, I've talked to Laura, I know what she wants to bring in. And she wants to bring in concerts, and she wants to bring in certain things. And yes, these people want to have alcohol at some of these events. And again, I've been here, I've seen the events, I've been at the events. There's been wrestling events with alcohol, and I can tell you there's been boxing events with alcohol. There's been, they have the taste of West Warwick wanted to do alcohol up there. It was plain and simple. It's as long as, and I feel the same way that Councilman D'Amico feels. As long as there's policemen up there, firemen up there, I have total faith in those gentlemen who are walking around and making sure nothing is going on up there. I've been to events where police and fire have been there, and they constantly walk around. They don't just go sit in a cubby and pay attention to nothing. They actually walk around, make sure nothing's going on. If things are getting out of hand, they will shut it down. And again, I think it's a great event. People want things like this in West Warwick. People are against the circus, all right? People are against the craft fair that was up there. People are now against the boxing. I'm going to tell you, people are always going to be against it, but there's many more for it. And that's all I got to say. And you know, Angelo, I agree with you. If your constituents...
No one's against the boxing. No one at all. But my constituents are concerned about the alcohol. End of story. So if you really wanted to find out, you should have walked up Tanglewood. You should have walked down Hilltop. You should have walked down Factory Street, because my phone didn't stop, and they felt the same way as I did. They all drink. They all smoke. It was the way. And again, out of respect for the promoters, it was nothing against them. It was the way that it was presented on social media, which gets us in more trouble and causes more problems. We wouldn't even be discussing this right now if it wasn't for that stupid thing that he put on.
All right. Mr. Tillinghast? Yeah, just come to the microphone.
How was it presented on social media? Through, are you talking through?
When it first started.
When it first started, I was promoting it through social media.
You clarified it, if anything.
Right.
You clarified it.
We never talked about.
You never did.
Yeah.
It was before I even knew it was you.
And
Well, Jared was in the first video, so
No,
you
he
were in
wasn't.
it. Yes, yes, he
Tommy,
was.
where's that video?
Angelo,
It's on Facebook.
stop. Angelo, let me clarify something. I'll tell you who was in the video. Lori,
Mr. Tillinghast.
That was the
gentlemen,
second one.
That was the
very
first video.
Well, then the
One,
second one
two,
I seen.
It was the
three,
first video
four.
that.
One of them wasn't. One of them wasn't. Jared and Lori was nowhere near that video.
That was the first video.
The very first
Angelo.
video, all four of them were
It could have been.
I didn't know about the event till I met you.
And he didn't
But it
put
could've
another
been the
video
second
up
one.
after that.
Every video I think I promoted the fight had me, you, Mr. Capiello, Lori was in
There's
one
no
of them.
videos. I have all the videos in my phone.
There's one that I seen, and I'm not.
You must have missed us because we were in the videos. I've been in every video with him. Every
We've
single
done-
one
I
of
think
them.
we've done 3
He's
or
come on
4,
my
yeah.
podcast and it was my show. So it was me in the video. And actually my partner Rich.
Because when I first found out that that's when I called you.
I know, and what did I say to you?
You said the same thing like you're saying now.
What did you say
don't
to
wanna
me
be
when you called
politically.
me?
You don't want to get politically involved, and I said, it is political.
Right.
It is, because my constituents were calling me, and I explained to you the same thing I just said right now. And I said, the way it's going, if they had nothing to do with it, this would have flew by. Didn't I tell you that?
Yeah, you told me I was dealing with the wrong people.
Exactly.
And
Because they were setting the
and
wrong example.
what I said to you was,
I'm not getting involved
what
with
I
this.
said to you, you called me up angry at me, and you were talking, you called me, I'm not angry at me, but what are you doing with these people? They're no good, this guy's no good, this guy's no good.
That's right.
And what I said to you was.
And I was
Angelo,
threatened.
What I said to you after you called me, and I never spoke to you ever before that, and I probably haven't talked to you in 25 years before that. You know my family, but you don't know me like that. And I never really talked to you like that. The only time I spoke to you was when you called me and I was working out at the gym to tell me I'm with the wrong people. What are you
I said I
doing?
knew nothing about it. It was my district. I'm getting the call
But
from
you
my
made it
constituents.
you made it political, and I said to
didn't
you,
make it
yes, you
political.
did.
It was
Angelo,
political,
Angelo,
Jared.
listen, the phone call to me, your phone call to me,
Right.
First time I spoke to you in 20 years.
Well,
okay?
it's been before that.
Maybe 25 years.
Well.
Okay, the first time you called me wasn't to call me about anything, but to yell at me about.
I never yelled.
Well, you were like this. You were like you are right now.
And I speak like that,
And you were
whether I'm
speaking to
happy,
me.
sad, or mad.
Listen, you were speaking to me, angry about the people that I was involved with.
Because I was getting the calls.
And what I said to you was, Angelo, I don't know nothing about politics and what you're angry about with these people. All I know is that I'm running an event, and all I care about is my event. As far as the politics go, and as far as how, you don't like certain people and whatever it is, that's not my concern.
It shouldn't be.
And it wasn't my concern, and I said that to you. It's not my concern. We're bringing a prestige event here that is well-run, well-operated, no trouble. We have kids, we have grandparents. People look forward to our events. We have a TV deal right now with Hollywood. They're coming to film a series to sell it to networks. We have Washington D.C. who just did a huge piece in the Washington Times. Some lady heard my podcast with my dad, and she called me and she was intrigued by the concept. This has been a very well run project that we do. We run a tight ship. We have a nice security team. We hire all the right people. We have USA Boxing sanctioned. And I told you, I'm not getting into the politics stuff. I don't know nothing about it.
How it became politics, Jared, when my constituents call me.
I
They're
know,
my boss.
But it's not what you
Not
said.
him or anyone else in this room.
But it's not
them.
what you said to me when you called me. You were angry, you were yelling, and you were telling me that I was basically sleeping with the wrong people. And I said, listen, all I know is he's a caterer. I know Kevin 20 years. Why not give him the catering? He has a Class P license. He has the right license that we're looking for. I didn't know Jay. I just met him. I have nothing to do with what you are angry about. All I said was, it's an event that I'm bringing to the town, and you went off running with it.
I was angry because I knew nothing about it, and it was happening in my district. I was getting calls from my constituents that knew more than I knew.
Right.
And I knew nothing about it. Nothing. That's when I extended the olive branch and
Right.
called you.
I can
personally.
understand that. I can understand that.
That's the end. I wasn't mad at you.
I
My
didn't know
fault.
whether, I agree, but the phone call came out of the blue. I didn't know what you were yelling mad about, and I just basically said that, I can understand.
I don't deny any
what
bit
it
of
is.
that.
I can
What I
understand what
say-
it is, but it was a surprise phone call, and you were very angry about
who I was involved with.
All right,
And that's kind of how it went,
thank you.
so.
Mr.
thank you.
Tillenhash, you got something? You just gotta come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
I promised my girl I wouldn't yell at you.
Okay.
Mom. I was just curious, when, at first, if you can clarify something, you said that nobody knew. And if nobody knew, how did your constituents find out?
That's what I wanna know.
Well, that's
They
what
found
I'm
out by
just curious,
social
yeah.
media.
The way I found out was through constituents that looked at the Civic Center webpage or the Facebook page.
Okay, yeah.
And then they called me. And like I said before, I felt kind of foolish because I'm being questioned on what we're doing and why we're doing it, and I don't know anything about it. That has nothing to do with anybody here. That's more of an internal thing that I think needs to be addressed. And again, I think that was disrespectful to the rest of the council. That's me personally.
Disrespectful because I promoted an event that they asked me to film a video. I have to call you before I do something? If I use the bathroom, do I have to give you a call?
You want to handle this?
Let's go.
All right, excuse me, let me reiterate something. I'm just saying, and I'm not gonna get crazy about this because it's, I'm not involved in politics no more, but it seems to me that, there's a lot of, animosity, hostility, and personal grudges that I kind of detect from the background. And I was just wondering if that's, if you're for the people, they're part of the people too. The thing of it is, you gotta relax, and you were pretty hostile, Angelo, there for a while. I mean, you were very adamant and determined, which is okay, but you came across strong. I'm sitting there, I've known you a long time, and I was surprised, but I think personally, the guys, the gentlemen, everybody was trying to do what they want to do, and your friend Tom kept disrupting things, that's okay, but they couldn't get really much what they wanted to do, so, but I would think that it would be a little more professional in the future, so these guys can do their job. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Mr. Tillenhouse. All right, no more public comment? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call?
I could do a roll call.
Yeah.
What are we voting on exactly?
Well, gentlemen, you've already approved the licenses in the very beginning of the licenses. So now what you're approving is that they can play theatrical music up there and have loudspeakers. Because if you look at the first part of the agenda, licenses, you approved them all, and they're right in the top 4.
My fault.
Not reading. So now, we're doing theatrical performance, shows and exhibit license. We're all for it all.
To approving the event,
Yes.
correct, yes, I'm for the event.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Enjoy it.
Good luck.
Gentlemen, before we go, one comment. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Hey, before you do that, Tom, why don't you just all come and you can sit there and see how it goes?
I'll be there. I've been there before.
Get a VIP table, you can't sit at my table.
I figured that.
Okay.
All right,
I-
guys.
I do plan on attending.
On the record,
Tom.
I'm losing my track. I want to say one thing, that congratulations to these guys. I think a boxing match is a wonderful thing. The way it was pushed through, the way it was promoted when it first came out on social media, how it was promoted, was the big problem. Now, I have one question. Can you give me a ballpark how much the town, the Civic Center is making on this?
Tom, Tom, she can give, Tom,
Excuse me.
we've already voted on this. You
I-
come up there in public comment.
Oh,
if you'd
public
like.
comment.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Great.
Roger Lavoy and Marie Lavoy versus John Semino. Case number 14-1571 and KC 16-0889 settlement agreement.
Good luck.
I'll move the resolution, by Jer.
I'll second.
Members of the council, this was a matter that's been pending since 2014 involving a wall that's on Brookside Avenue. Question whether or not the town had any ownership rights to it was never cleared. Walls were built prior to West Warwick becoming a town in 2013, and the settlement amount of $2,000 is just basically costs that are going to be less than to defend the town's position in this matter. So I'm asking that the council approve the settlement in the amount of $2,000. The appropriate documentation can be signed the dismissal stipulation can be filed, and this matter can finally be resolved.
Any questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Renewable Energy Professional Service Agreement. Resolved that the Town Council approves a professional service agreement by and between the Town of West Warwick and Clean Energy Development. Be it further resolved that the Town Manager is authorized and directed to sign said agreement.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Ernie?
Yes, a little background, the town has a tremendous investment in our wind turbines, $18 million. And it's not a typical project, there's a need to monitor the cost, monitor the savings, dealing with the energy credits. So it's a very unusual type of project, one that requires a certain special knowledge and skills. And quite frankly, we don't have the administrative capacity, the time, or the understanding of this type of concept that we believe that we need some, professional assistance.
Hold on one second. Town Sergeant, can you get them to quiet down out in the hallway? Somebody, whoever. Bert, they got it. He's got it. All right, Bernie.
Now, Julian Dash, the managing partner of Clean Energy Development, he worked with the town in the early stages of this project, did a lot of the initial reviews, the performas, has a very good understanding of this project. Because it is such a specialized field that certainly is very, very critical, and considering the investment we have, it's my belief that we need someone working with us, for us, who has a thorough knowledge of this type of industry, and will be able to assist us as we evaluate our expenses, our revenues, and making sure that, looking at our interests, making sure that the town's interests are being maintained. And with that is my recommendation that we retain Julian's firm to assist us in all of our activities in energy development, specifically as it pertains to wind turbines.
Any questions for the manager? Basically, what's going to be their full responsibility as far as?
Basically, it's a number of things with the Clean Energy Fund Administration, reviewing all the savings, the performance, making sure that the revenues that we anticipate are coming in, reviewing all the documentation that comes in, from our asset manager and the other entities, looking at all the costs associated with the wind turbines loans, the payments we need to make, administrative costs of the clean energy performance, making sure that our costs are allocated correctly, assisting us with any accounting and reporting relationships. And again, we talked about these renewable energy credits. These have to be sold, helping us sell these for the highest and best price we can get. So it's basically a full-blown assistance on any type of activity we need.
And if I could just add, usually when litigation ensues, you have to hire the expert after the fact to take a review of the documents to provide us with a roadmap of where we're going. Because of the amount of the investment that the town made regarding these wind turbines and all of the issues that Ernie just discussed, now we'll have an expert with us to let us know when in fact there may be a legitimate breach of a contract by either D. Pasquale's company, Wind Energy Development, or anyone else. So it's almost like having the expert set of eyes on it beforehand versus after the fact. So if there is a problem as it relates to breach, we'll be able to react to it much more quickly than waiting to see something happen, because 3, 6, 9 months, the town's already seen by having the turbines shut down for a month. We have no idea how that's going to affect the credits or affect everything going forward. So I think having Julian aboard will allow us to address some of the more contractual matters on a much more quickly and efficient basis.
How much, like, what's the cost, and like, how often is he involved? Is it something nonstop, he's keeping an eye on everything? How-
$2,500 a month.
It's $2,500 as an initial fee, then $2,500 a month. Yes, he'll be constantly viewing all the information that comes in, be available for any type of questions, assistance that we have. In fact, he has been helping us throughout this process with wind turbines, and even before that, attending some meetings with wind energy development.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comment? Any public comment?
I have a question.
Jay?
You say the terms for phase one for a period of 12 months. Is this going to be an infinite number of phases? And is 12 months going to turn into 12 years?
You're gonna be able to revisit it at the end of the 12 months, or probably the month beforehand, to determine whether or not you're gonna go forward. But at any time that he is gonna provide information that phase one would become phase two, there'd be a different contract, and then the manager would have to make a recommendation as to what's happening and what phase two actually deals with.
And for the
Okay.
record, Julian,
Thank you.
Julian's been with us since day one of talking about these wind turbines. And again, I know with the wind turbines going down, it's been very hectic for the town manager, because I've been sending him emails, asking him questions, and I know he has to reach out to individuals for those answers. So with Julian on board, we'll be able to, focus on a lot of other things with that.
Are we going to pay Julian out of the money that we get from the wind turbines?
Yes, it would be from the energy fund, and
So it won't affect the budget or anything like that?
not the general fund, no effect on the general fund. The energy fund is from the revenues received from the electricity, that goes in there. And again, when we sell these energy credits, those proceeds will go back into the energy fund.
All right, thank you, Randy.
Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Bid award for revaluation services. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the bid award for revaluation services to the Revaluation Group LLC located at 615 Jefferson Boulevard, Suite 203 in Warwick, in the amount of $158,000.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Assessor, how are you tonight?
Sal Sakosha, tax assessor, town of West Warwick.
So, is this the same Northeast Revaluation Group, same group as
That we currently,
had
yes,
previously?
yes, past, at least since 2012, I'm not sure if they were here before that.
I think this is their third time, I think.
Be their third time. Came in less than the last revaluation bid. I think it was like 20,000 less than what they bid 3 years ago. I'm happy so far with what I've seen. I hadn't worked with them before this. I knew the gentleman, but working with the software and the different people working in the company, I've had more than enough success and answers any questions I've had.
How many others bid on this? There used to be 2 or 3, but they never used to get the bids. Did they get the bids this time?
Bids went out as
Who got them?
we advertised, state website, our website. I know I got a call from Vision, VGSI Technology, before the bid was, the information was due in. They decided not to bid. I haven't talked to them since then, so I don't know why. A lot of towns now, they've been with the same revaluation firm for 3, 4, 5 cycles, sometimes longer, and a lot of the technology in the town is tied in with the revaluation. In order to switch to a different company, the other company would have to come in and use the same software or change everything in our technology world to fit their software, which would be kind of not cost effective.
Yeah, that's probably why they're a little cheaper, because they've already been, their software's already installed, they pretty much know what's
It's
what,
there.
so it should be a little easier for them. Any other comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Cancellation of taxes. Resolved that the attached cancellations in the amount of $951.08 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinance is hereby approved. Original list is on file at the office of the tax assessor.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving seconded, discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Fees and charges for the police department.
Al, actually, do I have a motion?
I'll move the resolution, sorry.
Second.
Moving seconded, Al?
This is a housekeeping matter. When I started on the project that you've all been getting my emails for the Code of Ordinances updates, I found out that we had a section in the ordinances that set constable fees by way of ordinance, $10 for the fee or $5 for a constable fee to service a process. All this is doing is what we've done in the past, taking the fees out of the ordinance and putting them in the resolution. So item V is the resolution, setting the fee in the resolution, same as it always has been. And your next item, W, is the change in the ordinance, taking it out of the ordinance and putting it into the resolution.
Any questions for Al? Thank you, Al. Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2018-2, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, and ordinance amending Chapter 14, Police, Article 1, in general section of 14-3, fee for licenses of police constable, and 14-4, fee or license of constable with power to serve, process of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving seconded, Al just explained it, pretty cut and dry. Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jake?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2018-3, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, and ordinance amending Article 5, Section 8-93, refuse and trash facilities of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, Al?
This was brought to my attention by Shayna Prince in our building office. They, in their travels through the town, had seen areas where people had dumpsters, particularly the three-sided dumpsters, where they were either facing neighbors' properties or facing the street. And so Shayna came to me and she said, is there something we can do about it, just for aesthetic purposes and to make it so that we don't have trash being visible to the general public. So I took a look at the ordinance we had, and all I did was I provided that each dumpster or trash receptacle shall either be four-sided, or if three-sided, the open side shall be gated in a manner to prevent public view, just to aesthetically make it more pleasant for our community. And it was brought to my attention, as I said, by Shayna Prince, so she's the one who should get credit for this.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment on trash?
Yeah. I believe the health department has ordinances that dumpsters are to be within enclosures. So anyone that doesn't have their dumpster in an enclosure is in violation of state regulations.
Does that include the town of West Warwick?
That includes the entire state.
All right. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
But I just want to make a comment before we start pursuing fines for businesses, whoever has a dumpster, that we take care of our own first, to set an example.
Thank you. You want to reiterate so we don't have to go chasing it?
School department, town garage, no enclosures.
Okay. We'll look into that.
Ordinance number 2018-4, first reading, sponsored by Council Vice President D'Amico, and ordinance amending Chapter 4, Animals and Fowl, Article 5, Pet Stores of the Code of Ordinances in the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second. Can I second it?
Go ahead, John, this is your ordinance.
So, as you know, I've been working over the past year to update and improve our current ordinances and put new ordinances in place that will benefit the animals in the town. What this will do, and I'll let the solicitor speak to this in a minute, is essentially, moving forward, any new pet stores will not be allowed to sell dogs or cats. There is a problem in the United States with puppy mills. This information is coming from the Humane Society. And I just want to take a minute to read some of it to you, just to kind of educate you on what's actually going on. There's approximately 10,000 puppy mills in the United States, both licensed and unlicensed. There's over 2 million puppies that are bred per year, while an estimated 1.2 million dogs are euthanized in shelters every year. These dogs are often living in unsanitary, poor conditions. They often receive very little veterinary care, and the female dogs are basically being only used for profit to produce the puppies over and over again. So essentially, this is more about profit than it is about the overall well-being of the dog. Dennis Tabella is also here from Defenders. After the solicitor speaks, I would welcome you up to the microphone. I know you wanted to say a few words. And also, I appreciate the fact that you've waited here so patiently over the last 2 hours.
Basically, as in all these situations, I did review the state law to make sure we were not going anywhere in violation of state law. And then there, through Dennis's help, there are several communities that do have similar ordinances. I reviewed those and massaged them to fit our town. As Councilman just said, it prevents the selling of cats and dogs. It does not prevent shows by nonprofit. Apparently, they go to the dog pound, for example, or the animal shelter will take pets, dogs and cats, and give you the opportunity to go there and buy them or auction them. That doesn't get prevented. It does not apply to any pet store presently existing in the town. It only goes to the future. We've put in record the cat breeding ordinance, and we had a previous ordinance about thoroughbred dogs. They remain. It doesn't affect what the council has done in that area. So that the what I think has come out of the ordinance, or I hope that I have drafted an ordinance that basically prevents puppy mills.
We have 2 pet stores in the town, correct, right now?
It's not going to affect.
It's not gonna affect those, yeah, I
Right.
know.
If they're in good standing, they're already a licensed business.
The only question I have on that is they're grandfathered, but
Yeah.
let's say Fishbowl decides to sell to Angelo Pizzula. Angelo wants to go into, he's just changing names, is that still considered grandfathered? Staying at the
If you
same
buy,
site?
if you buy the corporation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Al, that corporation stays grandfathered.
That's what I was gonna say, that if it is the same business, if I go in, if I buy your location and come in with a new thing, no, I'm new.
So, and I want to clarify this. So, Dave Goslin's buying Fishbowl.
Right.
What if I want to name it
No, you can change, name is a name.
Doghouse?
Yeah,
You just,
name.
can't- you just,
location.
whatever the fishbowl has right now, that's what your grandfathered
Yeah.
in. If you try to change it, you've lost your grandfather's ability. So if the fishbowl doesn't sell,
So if they up and leave, say Fishbowl leaves West Warwick, goes to Warwick, nobody can come back in at
No,
that point?
if Fishbowl leaves and then you rent or take that same space, you're coming in new. You don't have what
As long
Fishbowl
as,
has.
as long as you're the exact same business, but if you change
Yeah.
anything, then it would change, correct?
well, again, if there's a change in the law going forward.
Not the
that
law.
affects your business,
No,
that's all
I
right.
don't mean the law, but if you change your business,
It's gonna be the same.
business, okay.
A lot of people try to put semi on it, but it's gonna be the same.
It's gotta be the same, I wanted to clarify that.
All right, thank you. Any public comment,
Can we have Mr. Tabella on the mic?
if he wants to?
And I just want to tell the council, it's been a great deal of help to me on this.
Members of the council, I just wanted to share just a couple of things quickly. I know it's a long night for you. The city of East Providence has this already as an ordinance. the town of Warren has it as an ordinance, the same wording that you have before you. And the city of Warwick has it in place, same wording. And just recently, the city of Providence has it before the ordinance committee. They haven't voted on it yet, but it's before the ordinance committee. But I'd like you to hear this one statement by a judge from Rhode Island. And it pertains to East Providence because a pet store took East Providence to court regarding the same issue. But the judge ruled in favor of the city of East Providence. But I'd like you to hear what the judge said. This was in federal court. And this was Judge William Smith. He said, considering the city of East Providence's legitimate interest in furthering the humane treatment of animals, curbing animal overpopulation, and protecting consumers, the ordinance does not run afoul of the federal or state contract clause, and plaintiffs' claims on the issue fail. So a federal court ruled in favor of the city that they were allowed to do this for those particular reasons. And this is not an anti-business proposed ordinance, not by any means. If you look at large pet stores in Rhode Island, Petco, PetSmart, Rumford Pet, Pet Supply Plus in Garden City, they do not sell puppies. Let me tell you what they do, which is positive, and it can help West Warwick. What they do, and Defenders of Animals does it at Pet Supply Plus in Cranston, they allow us to hold pet adoption days. We can take applications for cats or dogs, and all those stores do it. They do it for different groups, but they all do it. It brings in business. You should have seen the crowd down at Pet Supply Plus the last time we were there. I mean, they were lined up out the door. It brings them business. So it's not an anti-business proposal. It's actually a positive thing.
You make a good point. So if we were to get another pet store, they could do a similar event.
Could
It
do
wouldn't
the
hurt their
same thing.
business. It could help them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Police has done them in the past, too.
That's right. They have. And you're going to see more and more of that because it puts a good spin on everybody. It's a win-win situation for everybody. It's good PR.
So if someone's looking for a purebred, then they won't be able to buy them at a pet shop, so they'll go out of state and buy them or online?
No, there are breeders in Rhode Island, good reputable breeders in
Right,
Rhode
just
Island.
not pet
So,
stores,
Just
they're
not pet
breeders.
stores, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought mine from a breeder.
I never bought mine out of a pet store, I always bought it off a breeder.
One of the things I found out in my research is one of the reasons that the big pet stores, I was gonna say legitimate pet stores, but why they don't sell dogs is because those thoroughbred breeders you're talking about, and we have a provision in our ordinance that allows for the breeding of thoroughbred dogs, what they charge for their dogs, by the time the pet shop paid that, they couldn't sell the dog, nobody would buy it. So if they want to buy that good dog at the pet store, they can't afford to sell it. So that's one of the things that I found out in my research, why stores like, I'll say PetSmart, are not selling puppies. They can't go to the thoroughbred breeder, buy a dog from him, and be able to sell it at a reasonable price.
The second part to that you should know is that, Defenders of Animals has been around for 40 years. We've dealt with a lot of different breeders for different reasons. Breeders in Rhode Island and nearby Connecticut and Massachusetts do not want to sell puppies to pet stores. They want to know where their puppies are going. They spent a lot of time and money on those mothers and the puppies. They don't want to see those puppies going into the wrong hands. So, it's not about money anymore with good breeders anymore. It's quality, and I'm not pushing. Just so you know where I'm coming from, we promote the West Warwick Animal Shelter and we've promoted other shelters before. We want people to go to municipal shelters to adopt dogs and cats. We don't want them buying them, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote.
On that subject?
Tom, come on up.
Not on that subject.
Okay, oh, it's not on that subject? We have to wait. Roll call, Jay?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yeah.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
If I may take one more minute with the council. Today, I sent my second email, and you'll be getting one every month, to the council, to the solicitor, to the manager, and every department head for the Code of Ordinance update. I'm gonna ask the council to review it. What I did was I broke down by department each section of the Code of Ordinances that pertains to you, that pertains to Public Works. Please urge everybody to get the stuff back so we can get that Code of Ordinances updated. I have heard from the municipal judge. I have heard from the fire department.
Who we
So-
got left? Police and
The town council, the town solicitor, the town manager, the town clerk.
14 units.
Thank you, Al.
You got one more, don't you? No, not you.
No, he wants to get back to Florida as soon as possible.
Ordinance number 2018-5, first reading, sponsored by the town council, an ordinance authorizing the town manager to implement a FY 2018 budget corrective action plan intended to assist in preventing the occurrence of a deficit.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Excuse me.
You all right? Moving second, discussion. Mr. Manager?
Yes. I have some comments that will hopefully answer many of the questions you have, and maybe provoke a few more. This is a continuation of the adoption of the 17, actually corrective action plan. That plan worked. The town ended the fiscal year in the black with about a $217,000 surplus. Some of the same budgetary assumptions which led to the creation of the 17 corrective action plan was carried over to the FY18 budget as well, and there are some other factors which I will mention. As a result, because of those, we need to create and adopt a corrective action plan for FY18. Although the plan totals about $2.7 million, if we subtract the savings within the existing 18 budget, the deficit is about $1.7 million. But there is a fundamental difference between the two plans in 17 and 18. In 17, the plan was created after the fiscal year closed, so we knew what the revenues and expenses would be. In FY18, this is a real-time plan with still 5 months to go. So the corrective action plan was taking into consideration what we know, what we believe will happen, and what may happen, based upon what may happen or potential contingencies. The goal is to ensure that the town ends the fiscal year in the black. Failure to do so and have a deficit would have adverse ramifications for the town. Budgetary shortfalls. Really, there are two categories here. One is optimistic revenue assumptions, and then line item expenses which were either under budgeted or unbudgeted expenses. For revenue assumptions, current property taxes. In FY18 assumes $62,398,000 of taxable collections at a 96.8% collection rate. We're estimating that this assumption may be under budget about $370,000. FY17 collections were under budget by about $335,000. So as we were doing this, we were looking at history as also a guide. Now, the first 6 months of the fiscal year and revenues and expenses were reviewed. The property taxes, the current taxes were trending well, about 56%, 56.5%. Now, this could be because people were paying their taxes before December 31st, or it could be a trend that is occurring. If that is, and I'll also say property taxes are really hard to estimate, because you really won't know until the end of August as to where you are. Because there is a 60-day collection rule, which is if principal is collected between July 1st and August 31st, if it's principal, it can go back to the prior year, so there's a calculation that has to be done. So, current year taxes are somewhat hard to project, but if taxes come in currently better than what we project, that's a good thing. That will give us some flexibility. Prior year taxes have been a problem for the town. In FY18, we budgeted $2.2 million for prior year taxes. Our projection is $1.7 less than budgeted. The past 3-year average has been $1,750,000, so we believe that's going to come in at a lower level. In FY17, the number was $2.4 million, and $1,708,000 was received, so that was a shortfall of almost $700,000 in FY17. So the overall estimated revenue shortfall could be $870,000 or less if property taxes hold, and it's higher than what we estimate. Some of the line items that came in that are under budget or will come in over budget. General liability insurance, the FY18 budget for that was $400,000, and the bill was $493,000. Workers' compensation for FY18 was budgeted at $350,000, and that came in at $463,000. We had a hydrant bill that came in that was from last fiscal year, and that was $62,000. Severance pay, which is something that's very, very difficult to project. The budget estimate was $100,000, and to date we've expended $387,000, so $287,000 above the budgeted amount, and we still have 5 months to go, so we're estimating $350,000 overall for an additional amount for $350,000 for additional for the severance payments.
So Ernie, just to clarify, the severance payments, that is employees who retire.
Correct.
And they have sick time or vacation time on the books, and we pay them.
Correct.
I just want to make that clear for the public.
Computer services, last fiscal year it was under budgeted by about $86,000. This year, we believe it could be $120,000. And built in, there's a monthly fee of I think $9,000. And in that fee, you have so many hours of assistance. And if you go over that hours of assistance, there's an extra charge. So we believe that will be over by at least 186, at least maybe 100,000. We also have some ability there in case something unforeseen happens that we need assistance for.
When is that contract
I believe it's up this year. We'll have to check. It was started prior to the end of the fiscal year, so I believe it's very close right now. So,
Good.
So, but that's something that clearly needs to be budgeted appropriately for going forward. We also have, with police and fire overtime, public safety overtime is attributable to a number of things, emergency situations, which, no control over. If it's fires that cause extra staff to be brought in, police events which require police to be brought in, emergency situations. Staffing is due to a number of things. Regular leave time, vacation time employees have, and when they have a vacation time, you need to bring someone in back for overtime to fill the position. Sick time, if someone's out sick, then you need to bring someone back in to fill the position. And these are the patrol divisions for police, all the battalions for the fire. Some daytime shifts have to be replaced, some not. But again, if it's sick leave, then you have to fill the position with overtime. If there's an on-the-job injury, OJI, you have to bring somebody in to fill the job with overtime. Military leave may or may not be filled with overtime, but usually there's an offset with the military salary. And if there's a vacancy, that's where you'll save money because you're not filling the position. So those are the you know, the way we can save a little bit, but most of the overtime is contractual with police and fire. Police was budgeted at $650,000. Last time I looked, recently we spent about $500,000. We're estimating to be over that 650 by $250,000, and the 3-year average for police overtime was $866,000. Fire overtime was budgeted at $940,000. The last review was $858,000, so we're estimating another $400,000. Their 3-year average is $1.1 million, so, you know, these are occurrences now. I believe we have new recruits coming in for both fire and police, and once they are in place and can work on their own, you know, that may ratchet down a little bit in the fiscal year, but again, if retirements come in again, then we're impacted by retirements, especially, you know, a lot with the police department. So those were the, for overtime. And then we have unbudgeted expenses that we may have with contractual obligations for the fourth year of our collective bargaining agreements with police and fire. They have binding arbitration. There's a wage reopener in both of those areas. Funds were not budgeted for that event, and funds were not budgeted for legal expenses to deal with those issues of those arbitration expenses and the cost of arbitration expenses and appeals. So that will be another expense over $400,000. So potentially. So as we go through, with some of the exceptions that are hard numbers, these are beliefs that we believe will happen or have a high probability of potential to happen. Again, there's no crystal ball. We have to monitor expenses closely to make sure that you know this plan, if adopted, will be sufficient enough to resolve any deficits that may occur. And again, if the revenues from current property taxes come in better, that's great, because that will give us some flexibility. If any expenses come in under, that would give us some because that would help us, because that would give us some flexibility. But when I add the two together, the potential revenue expenses on the revenue side and then the revenue shortfalls, they add up to be about $2.7 million. And now, where can this funding, where on the revenue side can we look to balance this budget? And again, the goal is to have a balanced budget and end the fiscal year in the black, so that any type of adverse consequences can be averted. And again, these are not good choices. I'm disheartened to make some of the recommendations that I'm going to be making, but under normal circumstances, I wouldn't make these recommendations, but again, we don't have normal circumstances. We have a fund balance that is very small, $217,000. The reason why you need a larger fund balance is for any unforeseen emergencies that, we don't have that. A general fund of $40 million, we should have at least $5 million or more dollars. Back in 2013, there was a fund balance, I think about 2012, a fund balance of over $5 million. And through the years, through balancing budgets and through capital expenditures for needed equipment and needed projects, it has gone down to the point where it is a very small amount. So again, we have no rainy day funds to offset any emergencies or unforeseen occurrences. So now with the funding plan, we have a combination of two things. Reductions in the current budget that can be made, and then some one-time revenue sources to balance the budget shortfall. Again, and the way the one-time expenditures are structured, they are as to not to exceed amounts. So if we do better than expected, then we can look at maybe not taking some of the funds that we need to have a funding plan that we believe is sufficient to cover shortfalls. All right. And again, these are this would be the last one-time revenues that we have. So going forward in 19, a proper prepared budget and submitted budget will need to be made. And again, every year, future budgets have to stand on their own. But for the current fiscal year allocations that became reallocated, we have capital expenses, capital budget of $429,000. We believe that we can save $275,000 from that budget and still leave about $56,000 if something urgent comes up. So that money would not be spent. There's a line item for a OPEB pre-funding holdback, $250,000. That's in the current budget. That won't be spent, so that will just fall to the bottom line. There's a cash reserve fund of $250,000. That line item was intended to fall to the bottom line, which it will this year. And then we have departmental savings. Departmental savings are from the measures that were taken at the beginning of the fiscal year to the end of the fiscal year. We have an estimate of $248,000, but my hope is that that will be higher as we go. But again, if we may have more savings, there may be areas that come in that we didn't expect to be overexpended. But hopefully we'll have more savings there, which we can help rely upon. So what we can do this fiscal year would be about $1 million, hopefully a little bit better if we have more savings than we anticipate. So those are the one-time expenses. The budget's shortfall, the budget reallocations in the FY18 budget. Okay, that's not enough. Then we have to look at how we're going to balance the budget through other methods, and we have some one-time measures to look at. And again, these are areas that I would not recommend if we had any other resources, but we don't. So as painful as it is, I will outline these sources. There is an account, rescue fees, emergency services account, and we have a sum not to exceed $400,000. This fund was created and set up to pay for equipment, mostly apparatus for the fire department. The source of the funding is a percentage of the rescue service fees that we receive every year. We bill for services for rescue fees, and a percentage goes to this fund. And last fiscal year, $180,000 was contributed to this fund. Projected in 18, $170,000, or 15.5% of the rescue fees. So it may be higher than that. Last year was $180,000. So this fiscal year it could be more than 180 or more. But what's on the schedule we have was $170,000. And the expenses here mostly go to pay debt service fees. So by taking the $400,000, again, not to exceed, it would leave about $290,000 remaining in this account, which would be more than enough to pay the debt service in FY19, and it doesn't account for the FY19 allocation that's going to be coming in, which is again estimated to be $170,000 or more. So we'll have sufficient funds to pay the debt service and possibly to look at another piece of equipment if that's necessary for next fiscal year. So this is one that, and I will tell you, these are all painful. This was something that when I arrived here was very impressive to me and very progressive that this community had such a program. Most communities do not have this program, but again, when you're faced with bad choices, you have to make the choices. And again, there is sufficient funding to pay debt service, and there would be sufficient funding to fund a critical piece of apparatus if it was decided next fiscal year to do that. Police detail fund, $79,000, again, some not to exceed. This fund was set up to replace capital equipment for the police department as well as a funding source for special details. If there are special events, this is where the police will take their special details for community events. Their details are required. funding sources are the hourly rate for the rental of police vehicles when there's construction projects available. There's $84,000 available, and with the reduction, we'll still leave $5,000. We have an OPEB trust fund not to exceed $1 million. This was used as well as in FY17. There's $1.3 million in this fund. It is appropriate to pay retiree health care costs from this fund, as was done last fiscal year. And the rationale behind it is clearly if this town can't resolve the budgetary issues, the OPEB trust fund really, quite frankly, won't be much good. So clearly it's needed for the deficit reduction plan, and it is a permissible use. And we also have unassigned fund balance, $217,055 if needed for the plan. So when we add, the current funding sources in FY18, what is the one-time revenue sources? We get to the $2.7 million. And I guess the closing remarks would be is that I believe that the adoption of this plan is essential to have a balanced budget. It has to be monitored and reviewed because we still have 5 months to go. And in the review that I've done, I mean, there is no plan B. There are no alternatives that I see. But with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
I just think it's deja vu all over again from 4 years ago. In all due respect, Ernie, when we were in trouble to begin with, I think our budget was 82 million, if I'm not mistaken. Could be off a couple million. The 4 years we did the same thing, kept kicking the can down the road. We're stealing from Peter to pay Paul, and I see no real plan to stop the spending. I see no layoffs. I see no jobs that were put on with our previous town manager. I don't see any of that. The only thing I see is we're taking from the fire department on an emergency vehicle, which we're gonna pay the fiddler in a year or two. We're not mentioning to the public, when it comes in effect, instead of giving $9 million a year to our pension fund, it jumps to 18 million within the next year or two. We have nothing in our rainy day fund. We're taking out of our OPED, which is not helping us. All we're doing is stealing next year's pay for this year. How do we pay next year's? We're gonna come back to this again? We're gonna go to the taxpayers again? Are we going to our department heads? Are we going to our employees and signing this with them all over again? This only works for a year at a time. Next year, we don't know what's gonna happen. We know that we have to make up for the millions of dollars we're spending. And there's no plan to stop the spending. If I have a budget in my business and I continually spend $2-3 million or $2 or $3 more, every year I'm catching up, and all I keep doing is going deeper and deeper and deeper. I mean, what we need is a plan that it's not going to be prolonging the inevitable. And we're grinding dollars and pennies and nickels and dimes, and we're talking millions and millions of dollars. This is no good. I'm not supporting this. I never supported it. I'm not going to support it now because this isn't a fix. If you said, hypothetically, we're cutting 5% from everybody, bingo, we got $5 million. That's a start. That's a corrective action plan. This is borrowing. We're going deeper and deeper. I mean, I'm no rocket scientist. I'm no financial whiz, but I know how to make money. I know how to spend money. I know how to save money. This doesn't do either. My opinion, only one person.
The response that I have is this is a critical situation.
It's been
not a
critical for
normal
5 years,
situation.
right?
This is a situation that has to be addressed this fiscal year. Every budget will stand on its own. And some of these issues will be carried over to 19's budget. Some will, some won't. As we prepare the 19 budget, it will stand on its own, and it won't have structural deficits going forward. But this is a situation that has to be dealt with today, the fiscal year 18. This is the plan that can solve the problem, or at least attempt to solve the problem, which I believe it will solve the problem, and give us the opportunity to prepare a sound 19 budget.
Let me ask you a question, Ernie. If the citizens of this town in May vote this budget down, where do you go from there?
Well, that's kind of an unfair
Well,
question,
no.
because the budget hasn't been drawn up yet.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna use a hypothetical question. What will we do? I understand we revert back to this last year's budget.
Yep.
But we still have to present a budget. Where would you go from there? Where would this council go from there?
It'd be drastic.
It wouldn't be drastic, it'd make you do what you should have done 4 years ago. Instead of keep stealing every year and taking things that, you could say, we're only gonna give police $30,000 in overtime. You know that's not a legit, answer or a question.
Angelo, we did it last budget season.
And we're paying for it
Wait a
this
minute,
year.
Hold on. We had the chief come up to the microphone and say, don't cut my overtime, because this is what I am going to be spending. $1.2 million in overtime. He came to us with a solid number. We as a council said, no, we're only giving you $900,000, because you were sick and tired of paying overtime, which listen, I agree with you 100%. Overtime's out of control. But when a chief sits here.
It's
and says-
unrealistic.
Wait a minute, Angelo. When a chief sits here and says, a department head says, don't cut this, the council goes ahead and cuts it, and then a year later, you're $390,000 short, exactly the dollar amount he said. What do? What do you do?
Obviously, we're cutting from the wrong things that you can't come from. You're cutting, why don't we not give to the pension fund? Why don't you take $8 million and only give $1 million? That's the same thing.
Because we're paying out almost $8 million a year.
That's what I'm saying.
So, what
I
you're
mean,
saying is.
it's just like taking the
4 years
overtime
ago,
away.
there
We're
was
just making it look good on the budget.
But Angelo, 4 years ago, there was 17.
Correct it.
I understand that, Angelo, but 4 years ago, there was $17 million in the pension fund. We were
The
putting
stock
in-
market
wait a minute.
went up 18,000 points. What did it do today?
Angelo,
You lost 8%.
attend the pension board meeting and understand, they don't put it all in stocks. It goes in bonds, it goes in investment, it goes in different investments. They don't invest like you and I do in a 401k and go high risk. They can't do that. And if you guys came to the meeting that the pension board had with the Markham Group and all that, you would have heard that. They don't,
Listen,
because I asked that question.
I watched it, I understand it.
But let me
you know
say
what?
something.
I'm not gonna go there and be a hypocrite and listen to whatever Markham says or read this, because if you read it before, now read it. Well, when do you put in another $9 million in a pension fund? Where do you get that?
It's like 10 years away.
It's not 10 years away.
There it is.
You're only a few years away.
It's a 25-year plan, Angelo. But again, what I want to say is, here we are, we had $17 million in there 5 years ago when we started this headache, okay? And today, after paying out and everything else, we have $38 million. The last I heard, $38 million in that pension fund. I'm sure Kevin can correct me if I'm wrong, because 36 million, because he's at every meeting, and he's very involved. So, the pension fund, by contributing there, has improved. So taking away from that, and we're just gonna end up being right back into a pension fund crisis. And we're
Just
gonna-
like you are with an overtime crisis.
Angelo, I
Thank you,
understand,
you
but
answered my
I'm
question.
saying taking away from the pension fund is not the answer right now.
Listen,
It's not the answer.
Using that hypothetically, just the way you're taking away from the police overtime, the way we're taking away from the enterprise fund for the rescue. It's all the same. Only you can do that more without seeing it. But what happens when the payments are due on the trucks in 2 years? They're gonna be before us again, if we're still here, and saying, oh, you know
I
what?
think the manager addressed that by saying that, yes, we're gonna use it now, but there's enough in there for the next 2 years, and they're also gonna get 2 years of revenue within the next 2 years. So,
Again, you're spending money that you don't have. We don't have it in front of us. We're estimating. What did estimating get us?
This is money in front of us, Angelo.
$7 million in the hole and counting. That's what estimating our budget cost us.
And Angelo, I agree with you 100% because there's some.
Then
items-
let's fix it.
There's some items in there that should have been right on. Workers' comp should have been right on. That makes an easy phone call. Call in the workers' comp, say, what are our rates gonna be? You should better tell you, your rates
I
are gonna
said
be
my spiel. I know what I
$493,000,
gotta do.
not 400. Okay? The same thing with the, other insurance there.
Liability insurance.
They put 300, it was 363,000. It's simple. That should have been a phone call saying, what is that? And I expect you this year to call and get those rates, not
And where
just
would you
plug
get
in
the
numbers.
money? And where you gonna get the money? If they say it's 400,000, you're gonna know the correct figure. Where you gonna get it?
Angelo, you're not getting what I'm saying.
Oh, I get it. You
So,
don't get what I'm saying.
In previous past, the last budget, knowing that it should have been 400 and something thousand dollars, they plugged in 400.
Thank God for these people that can't pay the taxes, $600,000 a year in juice. It's unfortunate that they gotta pay. But the town would really be in trouble. You'd be finding another 500,000 of steel, unrealistically.
We have budget season coming up. I'll be waiting for those plans.
Ernie, I know you put a lot of time and effort into this, and you've spoken with us regarding this. It's February, beginning of February. I'd like to go another quarter, another 3 months. We have everything here, we have the paperwork in front of us, you have done the figures. Maybe revisit this at the end of April and see if that number goes down. I know it's not gonna go down millions, but that way we can have a solid figure to work with, to know we have a month and a half left in this budget. This is where we wanna take the money from. Cause I know and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying a lot of these, it's a one-time deal. You take this money, it's not coming back, right?
Yeah, what's the negative to do, is there a negative to waiting that long?
I'd rather be conservative at this
Well-
point, because we still have the money there. Because once you spend it, it's gone.
Well, we'll spend what we have to spend, I mean, what we need to spend. The plan has the ability for these one-time revenues to ratchet back on if we don't need it.
How do we choose which one doesn't get used and which one does get used if that case? How do you pick and choose which one you don't take the money from in that case? Let's say the shortfall is not as much as you think. How do you decide which one you don't take the money from?
Well, that, the last plan, it didn't happen because we needed it. If there was a situation like that, clearly I could come back and say, this would be probably in the fall, once, the audit was clear, what we need to do or not to do. But I would say that I wouldn't see the reason not to adopt it now. I mean, if the plan doesn't, again, if the revenue's coming better, we'll be certainly in good shape. One of the issues that could arise from this is we have a deficit. We know we have a deficit. The state requires that once a deficit is acknowledged, that a corrective action plan be developed.
Which you've done.
Well,
Right,
developed, but
this,
it's not
correct.
approved.
Right,
we
but
would receive correspondence from the state, Department of Revenue, Office of Municipal Affairs, saying in the Auditor General's office, saying, okay, you have a deficit, how are you gonna resolve it?
Which you have right here.
I don't have it right there because it's not approved.
Which is what you're planning right here.
But it's
So-
not, it's not an
I
approved
understand
document.
that. Yeah, I get that. But if you were to speak to them with this paperwork in hand, explaining that you brought it here to this meeting on February 6th, and the council, if we feel this way, wanted to wait to see what the accurate number will be, would that be sufficient for them? Because we could, if we could approve this at any meeting, or a special meeting.
Well,
If
I
we had
would-
money to play with, it wouldn't be a big deal, but we obviously don't, and I just don't wanna continue to rob from Peter to pay Paul.
Well, I would say that my belief would be is that the state would want a corrective action plan within so many days. And if I were to say, I have a plan, but it's not adopted. I don't know if that would be sufficient for their purposes.
If I may, Rosemary Bluth-Galoli, who retired 2 years ago, when she came, when we had the big meeting at the auditorium, they want things done now versus February 1st, so it should have been done in January. So now you're getting into, you're already into your seventh year of your fiscal year, 7th month of your fiscal year. So the longer you wait to approve this, the more heat you're gonna get from the state. Now, the state has options. They can bring in the different boards, take away your power. There's about 3 different things that can be done if the town doesn't react or do things on their own. But you're running out of time only because the fiscal year is slowly coming to an end.
Time for 5 people to get together, put their heads together, instead of keep spending, how to cut it.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you, Angelo.
Then let's do it. We haven't done it in 4 years.
I think we've done plenty of cutting out of every budget, but again, you gotta remember a few different things. And I will go.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. You know, we talk about the 5-year plan. The 5-year plan was a 4% tax increase every year.
Brought us $7 million in a hole.
Angelo, councils voted to reduce that tax increase, doing the taxpayers a favor at 1.8%, 2%, instead of the 4%. So those collections over the past 4 years were actually reduced based upon the 5-year plan. When the 5-year plan's calling for 4%, and we're taking 2 right
Dave,
off the top.
Dave.
But Angelo, you're saying we made no cuts. We made plenty of cuts.
Listen,
And we made sure we
we're
couldn't.
4th highest in the state now. What do you have, a sewer plant in Natick?
But Angelo.
4th highest
What?
in taxes. You see the people's houses for sale that are not selling? The
77
only way
houses.
they're selling is if you're giving them away because of the high taxes.
Angelo,
You're making these people's
Angelo.
property values, you're making rents
Angelo, I
go up.
had a person reach out to me with a thing from Zillow.
Talking on deaf ears.
Okay, no, you're not talking on deaf ears, but you're sitting here throwing misinformation out there.
I'm not throwing
I
misinformation,
reached
that's
out
all
to-
facts.
I reached out to a couple of realtors.
I don't
We
care
have-
about the realtors.
But
Talk
you're
to the
saying
people.
houses aren't selling. That is not factual. The average house in West Warwick is on the market less than 60 days. 77 are up for sale right now,
Yeah.
2 in foreclosure,
Yeah, how
and 1 in the
much?
process.
How much?
They range. They range
Yeah.
from 150 to 250
Yeah,
to
figure
350.
it all out, what section you're in. And that that $250,000 house is worth 3 1/4. So you go from there.
Angelo, I'm just saying, you're saying houses aren't selling. That's wrong.
I said
They
they're
are.
selling, they're giving them away.
And this is why we can't agree on, because
There's
we
nothing to
get-
agree
we
on.
throw out
When you get business
misinformation.
orientated and you wanna put your head together and solve the problem and not just put your hands in the
Angelo,
air
we've been
and
on
say
this
we're gonna
council
take it
12
from the
years.
renters and the taxpayers.
Hey, we've been on
And
this
the
council
businesses.
12 years, the 2 of us.
And I can't
okay?
get 3 votes.
Wait a minute. I can tell you right now, we're gonna be voting on something here that happened in 2005, but in 2006, when you and I were elected, we took the $1.1 million and plugged a hole from the cell tower, didn't we?
Yeah, well, I was against that
We
cell
were
tower,
both
wasn't
against
I?
it. But you know what? It's coming back to haunt us now, in 2018.
And this is gonna come back to haunt them for the rest of their lives.
Well, and you're right. We need to get together. We'll be going through a budget. I'd be more than happy to hear your plans.
Well, until then, I'm not voting, I'm not supporting this. And it's no disrespect to the manager, he's doing what he has to do. And I'm doing what I have to do. I'm not putting a Band-Aid on anything anymore, election year or not.
Again, I think that, you know, and I've had some conversation. I mean, Chief Barris did send us an email talking about the 400,000. In my opinion, I said, Chief, you got 400, and my exact words to him, you overspent your budget by 400,000, it's gotta come out of your department somewhere, and it's gonna go, you know, I don't wanna take it out of there, but, I mean, it's gotta come out of his department. And in my opinion, I mean, we got departments that are saving money, and then we got departments that are overspending money.
You got department heads that are working their butts off, and you got department heads that are doing absolutely nothing.
Well, that's not our
And
problem.
nothing's getting done.
That needs to be dealt with internally, not our problem.
It is our problem, because we're still here after 12 years, after how many managers?
Any other comment? Any public comment?
I spoke with Chief Barris too, last night for about 45 minutes. He made I understand what you're saying, but he made a hell of an argument on why you shouldn't touch that $400,000.
He did, and that's
And
one of the last places I wanna see it come
And
from.
I'll be honest with you, I don't wanna I think if we take that money, it's just gonna cause another problem down the road for the next couple of years. I don't wanna touch it.
Well, Chief Barris is concerned.
And that's kind of why I'm saying, let's wait, if we can, let's wait a quarter and see what happens.
I think Chief Barris' concern was that they won't recover that money, so how would
He
we
won't
go-
recover
Yeah.
it. He won't. It's being taken. It's not gonna come back. It's like the sewer money. That's not gonna go back.
Yeah, and that's not to mention, thank you for bringing that up. We're using a fund, an enterprise that we're using surrounding communities' money, the tune of $3 million that's used daily, and there's nothing getting done. Just keep peeling out the money.
Well, I would say that there is a yearly replenishment of those funds by the percentage of the rescue fees that goes into it on an annual basis.
But there's payment being made out of that though, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's keeping 2 years
I have
reserves now.
funds.
And he's taken 2 years reserves, and he's also gonna receive revenue over the next 2 years.
I got it. I just,
It's-
maybe I have some different information, but.
My,
having
my
like
only,
3
my
years,
only
he's in the
concern,
red, so.
my only concern. and
I don't wanna break
I spoke to
something
Ernie
else.
about this. My only concern, and I wanna say this to all the department heads, not just one. But you all sat in a meeting, every department head sat in a meeting with your town manager in these cuts. Nobody brings up anything, but then they leave the town manager's office and petition everybody. My only concern is, if you had these concerns, you should have said it to the town manager instead of leaving him hanging out here and expecting to answer to us.
I agree.
That's disrespect to the town manager, in my opinion. Because I know, I've heard it from a few department heads, and they should be going, and I say, you should be talking to the town manager, because he's gonna bring us what he thinks is right, but again, he needs buy-in from his department heads. Not his department heads going to each and every one of us, going down to our houses, shops, and whatever else, and talking to us about it.
And how about when they go on deaf ears? Who do they go to then?
I can tell you right now, I asked the town manager if he was informed about any of this, and he said no.
Of any of what?
What was sent to us.
Were you ever informed, Ernie, that some department heads are on their phones all day? Some department heads, if you got their phone, which is a town phone, and you look in the course of a day how many hours they're on it for personal use? Were you ever informed on that by department heads? Were you ever informed that people weren't marking their times down, coming in at 9, leaving at 1, and then giving themselves vacation time? Were you ever informed when Mark Carullo was the acting town manager, that they went directly one in particular department head and overrode his decision and nothing was done? I mean, I could keep going on and on and on, but I just want to know if you were ever informed with that.
Any public comment? Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Michael Gaddro. I live at 22 Shippey Avenue. You know, I bought my house, I put $100,000 into it, redoing it. So I'm getting hit with taxes. I don't appreciate roads not being repaired. I can't even take my wheelchair down the roads because they have raises in them 2 inches. You hit it with a car, it's one thing. You hit it with a wheelchair, you flip over. We've got mini bikes, quads going up and down the Shippey Avenue, mini go-karts. You know, my wife and I pay federal, state, and town taxes. What are we getting for it? You know, every year that I've been here, I hear this argument, we've got to steal. We've got to steal, we've got to make up. Well, I'd like to see the town council, the town manager do their job. We have town employees using town vehicles, driving their kids to school and dropping them off every morning. We have town employees that take town trucks and equipment to do their driveway. So what's happening to the town? Where is the responsibility? Where are we seeing our town employees taken care of, not only in their pension, but the use of town equipment?
Thank you, Mr. Goodrow. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I want to take a roll call vote. Jason?
What are we voting on?
The ordinance? To approve or not approve?
Will this go into effect right now?
You have a second reading.
I'm not going to approve it.
Angelo?
No.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes for second reading.
A resolution acknowledging and authorizing Verizon co-location and upgrades to the existing Sprint antenna on the existing cell tower located at 100 Factory Street, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mark's not here. Basically, we, in 2005, that previous council had sold the cell tower up on the hill. Now we're responsible for allowing them to do whatever work they want on it. So at this point, Verizon, and I know I personally came up here as a non-elected official at the time and said, don't do it, because I knew a little bit about the cell phone business and how all the towers were gonna become very valuable, especially when, because that was when 3G and 3G was just coming out. I knew 4G, now 5G is coming out, where they're gonna need more and more cell towers closer and closer together. Unfortunately, the town at that time sold the cell tower for $1.1 million. That was used for a one-time fix in 2006. And now, I know I've received emails over the past 10 years at least, offering to rent that from us, $60,000 a month, so on. It was revenue for the town, and that's what we kept trying to push. Instead of a one-time plug that, and we knew it was gonna be used for a one-time plug, that we keep the revenue flowing. Well, that didn't happen. So now, they're just looking for us to authorize Verizon co-location and upgrades to existing Sprint antenna and existing cell tower located at 100 Factory Street. And we really have no control but to approve at this point. Any questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Yes?
Jay? Angelo?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Discussion, action, technology committee, its purpose, history, and relevance, sponsored by Council Vice President D'Amico.
Okay, so I put this on the agenda tonight, just again for discussion because, sure, a few months back, Chris Messier was actually appointed to the Technology Committee, and he brought it to my attention that there were no meetings. And he also brought it to my attention that there were no bylaws or guidelines or anything, in place. So I reached out to a couple of the older members. By the way, I went on the public meetings records, and the last recorded meeting with the state was February 16th, 2005. Okay? So I reached out to Derek Estranian and also John Patello, who are on this board. And I guess John's been on the longest, and he said, no, we've never had a meeting. I'm just curious, and maybe Councilman Padula can speak to it. I don't know where David went, but what was the intended purpose of this committee? Is it still even relevant at this point?
Well, we kept it in effect in case we still had the up in your ward, the industrial park. It was supposed to have been very active, and then the bottom fell out of people moving in. We weren't selling properties. We didn't need an engineer anymore, and it lost its value. But what the Arctic Redevelopment Commission's doing is what the technical committee should be doing. And the Arctic is just doing it for Arctic. The committee, it doesn't cost us anything to have it. I think they should be meeting. I think they should get together with the council. You have a lot of good picks on that committee, and they want to get involved, but they just don't. And we had this discussion, what, Dave, 2 years ago?
Like, what is it they should be doing? So I know that Chris
It's not-
Messier, he would be very willing to move this forward. I know that John Patello is very willing and Derek is very willing,
I
but
can give you
what is
some
it they should be
ideas.
doing?
Well, I'll give you some ideas that, like I brought up, like going to pension board meetings, I hear that town employees don't get any type of information. It's a yearly statement. Well, I know I see a quarterly statement. I can go online and get everything I need to know. My 401K, my retirement, everything. I find out that the town employees don't have any access to that, and I think that's one thing, you know, software, you know, what software do we need to get this access for the town employees to get real-time updates, you know? It also tells you what the pension, you know, some people don't have the luxury of coming to a pension board meeting, but they can go on and see what their pension's doing, the performance. So that's one thing. Another thing, we still use a punch clock here. We still use a time card. Why aren't we doing that electronically? So that's another thing that the technology committee can work on. Why aren't we using electronic when you get to your computer, just like I do? You punch in, you punch out from your computer. Why are we doing punch cards? And why are we having somebody manually go through every punch card and do a calculator and add everything up? Those are things that the technology committee should be working on and bringing it back to the town. You know, there's gonna be expenses to that, obviously, but, you know, we need to get to 2018. We're still in 1970.
It would seem to me
and some of
like,
the things are on here.
you know, the C-click fix, you know, that was one of those things that probably could have went before a committee like that.
Well, I would agree with you guys exactly with that. You know, the technology committee should be, you know, the purpose for the town is to help drive 21st century adoption or 21st century technology adoption within the town. How can we reduce our costs and our expenses by bringing technology into the town or used within the town by employees or the community? But I just want to be clear, because the description that Angelo actually provided before Dave walked in is absolutely totally different than what Dave just said.
That's how it was started, along with the technology committee.
Okay.
But they wanted to give the tools to the businesses coming in. That's how we formed that committee.
Okay,
I
so
didn't explain it 100%.
Okay,
But
so
that
it's-
was the reason.
And this is going back
for-
10 years ago.
Maybe longer.
Because this was
So
2005.
you're talking about bringing the town services up to speed from a technology perspective so that businesses can do
Exactly.
business with us.
And they were
Okay.
supposed to support the businesses coming in, because we had a lot of room up in the park, over the industrial park.
Yep.
You had businesses coming in, computers were just coming out strongly then.
Yep.
And that's why Zach Satrian's son got involved in that, because he was a computer wizard supposedly.
There's many different things you can
Right.
utilize that committee. Unfortunately, it's been unutilized.
Absolutely, and
Not even under.
with the
On.
discussions that you guys have been having tonight, especially around a lot of the financial problems that the town is having, I can see a lot of benefits bringing in the technology committee and getting them rolling to get better services and better programs in play that can reduce our overhead across the entire footprint of the town. And that's really what we're looking to do, is to define what that purpose is
I think those
for
are
the
the first
committee.
steps, right?
But
You
that
need
is
to get
just
together.
one aspect of what a technology committee could provide to the town. There are multiple other aspects. So we're talking about what is the technology refresh policies for the town? How often do we replace equipment? The new purchases that the town wants to make, you know, the audio video conferencing equipment. I know this was just redone recently, but the technology committee with a board of experts would be able to actually start vetting and putting out RFPs in order to find the best bang for our buck when it comes to this type of equipment. And that's just one example. I mean, you run across the entire town. Fire dispatch, police dispatch, their systems, the school, we can get involved with that as well. I mean, there's so much more that a technology committee
Chris,
brings to the table.
Make a full-time job out of this, Chris.
You can make.
You can- yeah,
Well,
you
I
could.
could, but I don't want to add
No,
any
no,
more
I hear.
expenses
Well,
to the town.
here's what my suggestion is, because, you know, there's other things you can work on also, because, but you have to set the guidelines.
Correct.
So, and I think I want to delegate here. I think, since Councilman D'Amico put this on.
That's what I was going to
the
recommend,
agenda,
that
you call for a meeting, get the people together, and then let them elect a chairperson, and then they can go from there. You can outline what, I mean, we can attend if you need us to, and give you an outline of what.
A lot of
you
them
have the
got
right to do.
discouraged too when we put that
I know.
Arctic redevelopment.
Who's on the
in, they
board,
didn't want 'em
who's on
on.
the committee right now, Paul? Do you have any idea?
So
She can-
I have it in the office.
I have it. It's two other people. It's Derek Stranian, is it?
Satrian.
Satrian, and John Botello.
Okay.
But there was
Both-
three more too.
now-
They
Yeah, but
were
nobody
resigned.
ever.
Nobody's
is it.
ever applied.
This is
Nobody's
it.
But,
ever applied for
again,
the
it's
seat, so
been
three people.
stagnant, so why would you
Correct.
apply for something that's not meeting?
Right.
So again, once they get rolling, get started, and maybe other, and I know John Patello is very highly knowledgeable of what goes on here in the town.
And
He
he's
does
still
a-
interested.
He does a lot of work next door. You know, he saves us a lot of money over there just by his knowledge. And you all heard a little while ago that our computer services that were sold to us at $100,000 savings is now over budget by $100-something thousand.
We won
So-
that too.
And we,
At no
well, we
bid.
asked that question. We said, this is gonna save us $100,000. We thought it was a great deal. Personally, I said to the town manager, maybe we need an IT person in here full-time. It's a lot cheaper than paying $280,000 for,
We had 'em.
IT. Well, he was up to that same rate.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the
It's what they
technology committee
budgeted,
could,
Joe, it's what they budgeted 75, and being up to 180 is what's killing us.
yeah, and again, with the technology committee and with the direct purpose of what they need to do, I mean, we can bring a lot to the table with that. I mean, I've worked both sides of the aisle on that. I've been an IT person that was assigned to companies directly, and I've also been on the side where you've consulting out to another agency and providing IT services. And the benefits between the agency doing it is if you need a server resource, you can call them and they bring somebody in. You need a desktop guy, you call them, they bring somebody in.
That's what we're
You
using right
have
now,
a bigger,
and it's killing
correct,
us.
but this is where the contract comes into play because it shouldn't be costing us $75,000 extra per year.
180.
180,000, even better. It should not be costing us that much extra. There should be guarantees in their service contract that state that they can't go over certain dollar amounts. This is where technology experts and contract experts would be able to bring a lot to the table because they know the ins and outs of those pieces. Not to say you guys aren't smart and know about contracts, but bringing technology-specific experts to the table
No,
know a lot more ins and outs. Plus, they can bring the compliance policies up to par to the 21st century. I mean, we collect private information on all of our people. Are we PCI compliant? Are we compliant in any way, shape, and form with privacy standards across the state?
So that'd be my suggestion at this point. Schedule the meeting, get everybody there, whoever wants to be the leader, choose who's gonna be the leader. At that point, you know, you can schedule your meetings, talk about what you wanna work on, set goals, and then we can go from there. And then you can also update us when needed or however it may be. Again, I think once you get the ball rolling and people see that it's something going on, people may apply for it.
Absolutely. And
Joe, what are you again?
3.
what's
Ward
that?
3?
3.
Ward 3, yeah.
Zach's 1.
Yeah.
There's-
Well,
it's
Derek.
1, 3, and 5, I think, currently.
Derek's in my ward.
Yeah, Derek's 1.
All my wards are full.
I know we need one from Ward 5, and I
It doesn't
think
matter, I'm
Ward
gonna tell you what, gentlemen, it doesn't matter what ward, just make it happen.
There should be plenty of technology experts in the town. All they need to do is just
Yeah.
communicate
they
to
don't-
either John or myself.
They
and
don't
we
have
can
to
get
be,
them
they don't
mixed.
have to bite.
They don't have to live in that ward, they just have to live in town.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you want to find the best people.
Agreed, and we want technology experts. So, I mean, anybody that works in the technology industry should be the ones that apply. These are the guys that know what needs to be brought to the table.
Should we put that out there in some way to let people know that we're?
Well, let's get
Well,
it established.
the biggest
Get it
problem,
started.
the biggest problem that we had was, all it says on the agenda and on the website is technology subcommittee. And nobody, I mean, I spent a year and a half trying to find information about it, and I couldn't. Until the point where it was just like, all right, well, let me apply and let's get this ball rolling, because the committee wasn't meeting. And then, once I was appointed, I've been reaching out to John and Derek, trying to get meetings set up, and I can't get any responses from them. So, I'm glad that Mr. D'Amico brought this up, because I really do want to get this moving, because I think it is part of the solution for the town.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you,
Good
Chris.
job, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
We already did the police. So, second annual Easter egg.
Just to put it out there, I'm currently working on this, but just for a date and a time, the second annual Easter extravaganza will be held on March 31st. It's a Saturday before Easter at 9 a.m. at the Civic Center, both indoor and outdoor. And I am not requesting alcohol.
And it will still be an excellent event.
And that's it.
Also,
Without alcohol, yes, it will.
Jay,
Excellent.
I gave you Kelly Doherty's information. She's gonna reach out to you, so.
Yep.
She's
Jay,
behind-
what was the date? I'm
she's
sorry.
sitting right behind
March
you.
31.
And you'll send out reminders, right?
Yeah, I'll update the council as I go through everything.
This year's a unique year, isn't Easter on April 1st?
Yeah, April Fool's Day.
Is it really?
Ash Wednesday is
Hide
on
the eggs, you don't hide the eggs and just let them go.
And Ash Wednesday's
There's
Valentine's
eggs out
Day.
there, kids.
There's eggs out there, find it.
April
That
Fools.
would be crucified.
You sure you don't want alcohol?
All right, Town Veterans Advocate, Bob reached out to me a couple weeks ago. I told him I would look into this. I know this was something that Councilman Padula brought almost a year and a half ago. Fred and Tim had numerous conversations, so can you tell me why it became
There
stale?
was the gentleman from the state, the new, I forget the director, I forgot his name, but Fred had been speaking to him about utilizing the local person through the state versus starting something brand new. And it kind of fell apart when Fred went south, so we can take a look at it, but the question is, he brought to Fred's attention whether there was gonna be a duplication of effort by having a local veterans person versus going through the state.
Well, I could, and Bob, you can come on up and probably speak on this. We have no representation right now. And it was brought before us from Deb Schusterman. And, she brought it back and, we talked about it and Bob was actually excited about it when we first talked about it. But then, like I said, he called me the other day, asked me where it was, and I said, let me get a follow-up.
Well, why don't Ernie and I can schedule a meeting, and, again, if you're not getting representation required out of the state.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of getting representation out of the state. Director Consimiarn is our new Director of Veterans Affairs. He's reaching out to all 39 towns like they do in Massachusetts. We have a representative in each town. He's identified in West Warwick, we have 2,300 veterans. And a lot of these veterans really don't know the services that are available for them. We have a lot of them that are homeless. A lot of them don't know how to reach out for apartments. They don't know how to get to the VA for medical. You would think they were, but they're falling through the cracks. So that's our concern, and we were wondering if we had a representative from each town, they might be able, along with working with the town council and other resources in town, if you know somebody that's in a hurt locker, you can kind of push them in the right direction.
All right,
Maybe we can schedule a three-way meeting there?
Okay.
And we'll hopefully get somebody from the state so we can kind of cut through the,
Director Yarn would be glad to come on down and give you his guidance, because he's working with other towns also, so that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appointment for the West Warwick Pension Board.
Yes. Read it.
Oh, sorry.
Kind of easy tonight.
Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the pension board for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire November 18 of 2021.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
I vote to table this.
I have a motion to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointment for the West Warwick Public Library Board of Trustees. It's two openings. Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individuals to serve as a member of the West Warwick Public Library Board of Trustees for the town of West Warwick with a term to expire of 2/2018.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
Yeah, we have two names here that are, these are reappointments. Andrea Plasiak and Linda Goldman. They've been on quite a bit, quite a while, and, they do a pretty good job, so I'll move in the name of both.
I'll second. I worked with Linda numerous times. Goldman.
Gonna take a vote.
All in favor, any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Upcoming appointments, Planning Board, Technology Committee, Sewer Use Tax Board of Review, Pension Board, Juvenile Hearing Board, Board of Assessment and Review, West Warwick Public Library Trustees, which we just filled in two of the terms. There's another term up there, which I think one person did resign. Councilman Tucker did send a letter of he sent us a letter
I never
of,
got it.
For library.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. The West Warwick Public Library Trustees, he's not seeking reappointment, so there will be one open appointment there.
Can you give me a copy of that letter, please?
Yes, I will. I'm sorry, that was my fault. I hope I read it right. West Warwick Housing Authority, maybe he wants to be, I don't know. And Public, of Tenant Affairs. Public comment. Comments will be addressed to the town council, who will take them under advisement. When addressing the town council, please state your name and address. Please conduct yourself in orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens accessing this portion of our meeting are neither adopted or endorsed by this body, but heard as requested. Council first?
Yeah, I have
Jay?
something to say. I want to say, everybody absolutely deserves a voice here, but there shouldn't be any more yelling from the crowd or from the crowd asking people on the microphone. I got a lot of calls from some of my constituents that feel uncomfortable coming to the meetings and talking on the microphone if they're going to have to be spoken to from the, if somebody has a question, they're allowed to come up here and talk. They shouldn't be allowed an unlimited amount of time. And they shouldn't just be coming up and back and forth to the microphone whenever they choose. There's a time for public comment, there's a time for comment after certain votes, and that's fine, but people shouldn't be coming back and forth up to the microphone. I've got a lot of calls about people that their kids watch the meetings, and they should be, we talk about getting kids involved, and some of these meetings have been embarrassing. Tonight is a good example of that.
Well, when a gavel's not working, I have to raise my voice. That's all I could say.
And a good forum for that, and this is a segue to this, is a Q&A session. We're going to have a Ward 3 Q&A session on February 22nd at the Senior Center. I believe it's going to be 6:30. I'm going to confirm the date tomorrow with Manny Murray. It's going to have Senator Satchel, Rep. Nunes, and School Committee member Louis Cologne, and it'll be the Ward 3 representation. So anybody out there, stay tuned. I'll get you the exact time. It is going to be the 22nd. I believe it's going to be 6:30 p.m. That's not 100% that it's going to be that time. So that's a time where you can ask any questions. You can go on if you want to talk for 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's a time where we can go back and forth and have a discussion. So anybody in Ward 3, and even if you're not in Ward 3, if you're just interested, you're more than welcome to come out to that meeting.
Thank you. Anybody else from the council? Public comment. Mr. Goodrow? Just state your name and address for the record.
Sorry for my loud voice.
That's
With
okay.
my hearing, I don't realize how loud I talk. And so that there's no question about, sir?
Mr.
I keep getting questioned about my service dog. There's a letter from the doctor that she is indeed a service dog, and I do require her. I came here because it was a small town. I had families in the area. I was able to go to local stores with my power chair and do shopping. And I purchased my home here, and as I said, I put $100,000 into that house, which was a foreclosure and needed tons of work. And I did so because I wanted to make West Warwick my final home. I've had interaction with the police early since I got here. I had a seizure in 2013, and while recovering in the nursing home, my house was broken into, and the officer that was investigating came to the nursing home once and then told me that I would have to come to him because it was too much for him to come to the nursing home, which was over by Kent County. I've had the rescue come to the house when my conditions were not under control. In the last couple of years, they've become under control. The women and men in the police department, for the most part, are good public servants, and I thank them for their hard work. But there is a bias on the part of some members of this police department against the disabled and other minorities. And this bias is condoned by the present police chief. I have had number of interactions. 2014, I had an officer who would not let me talk, and when my conversation is interrupted, I lose my train of thought. He kept throwing questions at me left and right, would not let me complete an answer. Finally, he told me to get going. He was done with me. Be careful when you cross the walk. Well, I was in the crosswalk with the light. A woman came speeding through. I pissed my pants. She came so close to me. I had already crossed the middle of the road. Going to the police station, I had a duty officer come out and tell me he wouldn't take my complaint. I had to keep following through to the town manager before I could get my complaint heard. The police chief says this is standard practice, And that standard practice continues today because I talked to someone last week who went to file a complaint, had a duty officer come out. State law says complaints will be investigated by internal affairs. Having a duty officer come out and talk to the individual and then tell them, we won't take your complaint, takes that out of the loop. And this hides complaints that a number of people have tried to make and are told they will not make them. Members of this community, the disabled and minorities, are afraid of the police because of retaliation when they have spoken against the police. I've experienced that over the past 10 months. November, having an officer stage an incident so he could arrest me, tell me he effed my mother, and he was sending my service dog to the pound. My cane and my registration were taken from my vehicle when it was impounded. When I went to the station to report it, the officer would not take my complaint, that my belongings were removed. I have him on camera. I now wear a body cam at all times. I'm asking that this town council consider a community safety ordinance. We have placed the police above the civilian control of the people and citizens in this town. A community safety ordinance helps to restore that. We have no transparency. When we go to make a complaint, it's handled internally. It takes them months to respond to complaints. This has happened to me. I'm still waiting for a complaint months later. One took 5 months. The Americans with Disability Act spells out specific rights of the disabled and how are to be treated, even during arrest. These classes can be seen by the officers by going to the ADA. They specifically have an area for them for instruction. The current chief condones the action of rogue officers, and the blue line continues to cover for them. I'd like to see the removal of this chief because he condones that. And we have a large segment of this community that are afraid to come forward and say anything against the police because of retaliation. If they witness something and they say it and it's against the police, they are retaliated against and they are harassed. I've been stopped while driving. When I take out my phone and start to photo it, they walk away because I've done nothing. We will not handle this until it's brought out to the public. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm asking for a community safety ordinance. The police will not like it, but we are the citizens of the town. They swore to protect and serve us, to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the state of Rhode Island, and the laws thereof. And they're not doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. Any other public comment?
One other thing, I am filing a complaint with the Human Rights Commission and the Justice Department and asking for full investigations.
Mr. Goudreau, I don't want to really comment too much, but if you're not getting the results from the West Warwick Police Department, I mean, you can also meet with the town manager, but you also have
being harassed.
Mr. Goudreau, you also have the state police.
They will not investigate the town because the law says that each town has an internal affairs division.
Okay.
And they will investigate. And that is being bypassed.
All right, thank you. Sir, just state your name and address for the record.
My name's TJ, and I'm located at 116 Robert Street, Apartment B. I'm actually here for 2 reasons. The first is last week, last Tuesday actually, we experienced a light dusting, which actually turned into a few inches of snow, which isn't going to kill anybody, but our school had a 1-hour delay. I go to West Warwick High School, and to the best of my knowledge, that 1-hour delay is so that the town can do their job and, plow the streets, and which I walk the bike path to school, and it wasn't touched, and the sidewalks on factory streets weren't either, and I witnessed people like fall, and like I put it on Concerned Citizens of West Warwick because like I felt like, you know, get the word out there, and I got positive feedback and a lot of negative feedback, but like I've never been to these before, but I just wanted to like put it out there and like give the attention to you guys because you guys are the higher ups in the.
Well, there's a couple of different things. One thing that we do not have control over, we don't cancel school, we don't set the 1 hour delay. That storm, I agree with you, that storm started really between 4 and 5 a.m. and dumped within 2 hours. I was out in it, I know. And by the time they canceled school, Coventry was a perfect example. Coventry drove the kids to school and spun around to drop them off back at home, which I think was probably the worst thing, because if you're already at the school, you might as well keep them there to get the roads done. Unfortunately, and I agree with you, we did not get the bike path off Factory Street, and we normally do. By the time they got on the road, got everything going, you were already at school. By the time you got out of school, they were done.
Yes.
So unfortunately, it was just the timing of the storm, and I did see your post, and you know, I know some people did respond to it, and you know, it is tough when you put stuff out there, because you never know what you're gonna get. I heard comments about you having $200 sneakers, which to me, that's no, you should have wore boots. You know what, I don't know, kid. But again,
I have them on today.
I read them, and I'm like, this kid put himself out there.
I did,
and you kept yourself professional, but thank you for coming. Hopefully, we can get through these storms and not run into it. But I can tell you that DPW is priority. You know, Tony Duffy is one person for Parks and Rec, and he does do the ice rink, field house, youth center, and then
He does the
bike path is usually his last thing. Again, I know a lot of people, and I've been saying it for months, because some people have been complaining about the bike path being plowed.
It's a good example of why.
It needs to be plowed, because a lot of kids take that bike path, a lot of adults take that to go to work, they ride their bikes to work, whatever it may be. So I agree with you 100%, and hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I commend you for coming out here too, and you
Thank
sat
you.
through a,
Yeah.
sat through a long meeting. I told you when you messaged me it was gonna be a while, so
Oh, that's
bring
fine.
You picked a good one.
And one second. My second one, which again, like, it's not like directed towards you guys, but it's putting it out there for me because I've talked to the school about it, and I've talked to guidance counselors, but and I've seen it again on like Concerned Citizens of West Warwick about the bullying in school, and again, it's one thing from hearing it from parents and hearing it from someone who's like been through it both ways. I've had my counts where I've done it to other people because I was in tough situations in my life, and you know, where I've been bullied. But in school, especially my school, I see people getting criticized for being Christian, Muslim, gay, straight, and I'm here to fight for the equality for them. I believe that we were all born equal, but we're not treated equal. And I feel like if I'm not going to fight for it, nobody will. And I don't see anybody doing it. I see people, you know, posting links about the policies and what, like, the laws, but you know, a Band-Aid isn't going to fix a wound. And I went to the principal, Mr. Solomon, to try to set up assemblies for like the middle schoolers, because you know, the younger you can help them out, like the better it progresses. And it's been ignored over the years. I started that freshman year. I'm a sophomore now, and it's been ignored. I've went to him I went to him after that and stuff, and I just didn't get like any attention about it. I didn't like, not even oh, we can't do this for this reason. And
So what did he say?
I was just gonna say, did you ever attend the school committee meeting?
Yeah, I was gonna say
no,
that.
I haven't.
Yeah, you should. When's the next one?
That's
Yeah, I would.
Well,
When you,
there's a formal school committee.
I would. When you're done, I would have a conversation with Chris Messier, who's a former school committee member. Find out when the next school committee meeting is. The second issue that would be. I mean, not that we don't. Obviously, it's a big issue, but it's on the school committee would definitely be the place to talk to for that.
And Mr. Messier, I'm probably, he's come to me and he's talked to me about the same situation you have. He's experienced it, not him himself, but his family members.
Yeah.
And I think by talking to Mr. Messier, you might have yourself an advocate there too also.
Okay.
Is it as bad as what the kids tell me?
Um,
Your perspective of it?
Yeah,
Is
it
the
is.
bullying-
I see it all the time, anywhere in school.
Is it direct or is it mostly like social media?
It's
Like,
both.
are they
It's
Instagramming it to each other? or-
it's neutral.
It's happening
between-
right in
yes.
school?
I'm only at the school for half the day because I go to Votech at Tollgate, and still in that 3-4 hours I'm there.
I'm surprised, Mr. Solomon's a pretty
He
decent
is.
guy.
I'm not taking anything away from him, but
Yeah.
It's not just high school. though.
yeah, and
it's
I'm
not
not.
just-
No,
I'm
it's
not
not
saying
just
that
West
he's,
Warwick.
teach in
yeah,
Cranston,
I'm not saying
and
that
we
he's
have issues
taking
there.
taking it away from me, like because I'm younger. It's just like he's busy. He has to deal with 1,000+ kids in the school.
Yeah, but this is important.
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
trying.
I like your
Because
idea,
it
though.
is
School committee meeting.
I like
Make
your
them-
idea.
Yeah, that's a
And,
great idea.
My
Go with a group, get some people together.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that there's a part of me, there's a large part of me that would like to try that, but you get criticized for stuff like that. You get
Well,
like,
you know what?
Safety in numbers.
yeah, for
The people who criticize you are the people that are fearing what's gonna become
Yes.
of that. So, don't, just be strong and don't be bullied by them, that's all, because like, there was an old saying that one of the policemen used to tell me, tell the kids that used to bully, someday you better behave with him because you might be working for him.
yeah.
And you know what? You get a group of kids together, they might not want to speak, but if you're willing to speak and advocate for them, they'll follow you. They'll get behind you. They'll stand behind you while you speak.
The students SAD, the Students Against Destructive Decisions, they got a group and they got teachers involved and they brought the tobacco thing before us to get tobacco, but they didn't stop, they started with 1 or 2 individuals and then they grew.
Yeah,
So-
that was my goal here, was just that started like I have a foundation to, build upon this, because I don't want to just stop here
Well,
after
I'm
telling you
wondering if you
guys.
could reach out to that group, because again, it has something to do with destructive decision is bullying.
Yes.
And, and if you can do something, sometimes kids don't listen to parents. They listen to their friends. And when, we could tell a kid all day long, don't do this, don't do that. They get out there on the street and they're doing it. And again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you're doing something up on stage and you're saying your experiences, I think, I'm trying to think where I saw this, where they had a whole auditorium full of people and they said, stand up if you did this, stand up if you did that.
There's
know
another video out there. It's
And-
more about race.
And
it's,
everybody, and by the end, everybody had their eyes closed and they stood up.
Yes.
And then they told them to open their eyes. And that was, I'm getting chills talking about it, but that was a very touching video that I seen. And I believe there's no kid, and listen, I've been bullied and I did bullying
Yep.
back in the day. And I look back at myself and I say, people I used to see in school and I see them now, I'm like, could you imagine where we are now, where we were 20 years ago, 25 years ago? It's amazing. It's a different era. And, when we were kids, there wasn't the focus on bullying. Now there is a lot of focus on bullying, and you definitely need to stay focused on it, because, and it does happen. I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen, and it happens at the school, and I know they can't see everything. I also know sometimes it doesn't happen. I read something on social media this week. I read it. I went and talked to the superintendent about it. I found out a little more of the story. It wasn't the full story.
You did it in a respectful way, though. I saw your post. It was respectful. You weren't going back and forth. You were just stating a case, and you wanted a voice. And again, I commend you for coming here.
Yeah,
Said you were going to come in. You sat through this long meeting. You came up here and talked to us. It can't be easy to.
That was
yeah.
like, it's just, I don't understand how to explain it, but like, I also came here to show that anybody can share their opinion about anything.
Absolutely. I
That
agree.
we should not be judged for our age, we should not be judged for our race, anything like that. And that was, that's something as a Christian that I've always preached upon. And I just want to thank you guys for letting me come here and giving me the opportunity. to speak.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to touch upon that for a minute. There was at the trust dinner, which we all had gone to a few weeks ago. I know Councilman Padula and myself went to the training beforehand, and there were a few employees there, and I reached out to Ernie, and the topic was harassment. Harassment as far as this goes, harassment in the workplace, but it does happen with adults as well. Otherwise, they wouldn't be having that training. So, but it was an enlightening training, and I was a little disappointed because I thought, in this day and age, that we would see more department heads there, especially the newer ones. So Ernie, we spoke about getting that presentation that they had.
Right.
Have you been able to get that?
Yes, Colleen forwarded it to me, so we reviewed it, and I'll be discussing that at a future staff meeting.
Okay. All right.
Almost every municipality had their HR director there and department heads, West Warwick, nothing.
But it was enlightening. It was a good training. It was free,
So we didn't have a table.
but thank you for that.
Find our own seats.
And Rose was there, and Rose was there, and Ann Kutu was there as well.
At the training.
At the training, yes.
Any other public comment?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, have a good night.
You gentlemen,
Happy
sorry
Val-
for my voice.
No problem. It wasn't that loud. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
It was loud enough.